Hey everyone, per your requests, I'm starting Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San, chapters 661 through 680 of the previous episode. Tang San helps Mei Gongzi survive the agonizing 8th level 6 directions, 8 desolations golden fiend tribulation. In the process, Mei Gongzi evolves into a god, mastering the celestial dance and gaining the Azura Sword's recognition. Her physical, spiritual, and bloodline powers fully synchronize. Meanwhile, Tang San absorbs scattered tribulation lightning, allowing his new golden armor transformation to spontaneously evolve past the planet's laws into a transcendent bloodline, boosting his strength significantly. Later, Tang San visits the endless blue sea, using his sea god aura to command awe from the sea clans and challenge their leaders. Thank you. If you're able to, please support me on PayPal to help me stay active. Now let's get back to the story of Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San. Chapter 681. The sea giant leader raised the colossal pillar in its hands horizontally to block Tang San's incoming claws. At the same time, a vortex suddenly appeared behind the sea dragon leader. Both the spirit had thrust and its body disappeared into that dark blue vortex, only to reappear the next moment behind Tang San. The spear shot straight toward Tang San's shoulder. Tang San's crystalline golden claws slashed against the pillar, leaving deep gouges in its surface. As for the sea dragon leader's attack from behind, Tang San acted as if he didn't see it, allowing the spear to strike his shoulder. A crisp sound echoed, but the full-force strike of a sea king only caused Tang San to sway slightly in the air, while the powerful rebound sent the spear flying back. The sea dragon leader stared in shock as Tang San turned around to face it. For a moment, fear crept into its heart. It had felt as though it had stabbed a mountain. A strike powered by its full strength couldn't penetrate at all. What kind of armor was this? In that instant, crystalline blue-golden vines shot out from Tang San's body, weaving into a large net in the air, which descended upon the sea dragon leader. The sea dragon leader was about to dodge when it suddenly saw a burst of purple light from Tang San's eyes. Its sea of consciousness quivered violently, and in that moment of hesitation, the vines had already wrapped around it. The vines were incredibly tough. Once the sea dragon leader regained its senses and tried to struggle, it found himself unable to break free. In the next moment, Tang San used the vines to pull himself close, his sharp claws slashing down at the leader's head. In this moment of crisis, the sea dragon leader let out a short roar. The 2 dragon horns on its head flared with bright light, shooting out 2 beams of blue lightning. Sensing the intensity of the lightning, Tang San didn't take it head-on. The attack was a fusion of the sea dragon's divine consciousness and bloodline power, likely its innate ability. With a flicker of silver light, Tang San shifted a meter to the side, avoiding the strike. Seizing the opportunity, the sea dragon leader's body swelled rapidly as it attempted to revert to its true form, forcibly breaking the vines constricting it. At this moment, the sea giant leader attacked from behind, sweeping its colossal pillar directly at Tang San. Tang San's eyes suddenly changed color, turning black and white. His figure flickered and disappeared into thin air. And now that he was no longer in the way, the sea giant leader's pillar was now hurtling toward the sea dragon leader, who had just reverted to its true form. The sea giant leader hastily tried to redirect the pillar to the side. But at that moment, the sea dragon leader's enlarged body suddenly faltered, as if it had lost control, and its massive form ended up directly in the path of the pillar. With a loud bang, the sea dragon leader was smashed directly into the sea, leaving it dazed and disoriented. In the blink of an eye, Tang San had already teleported behind the sea giant leader, his sharp claws slashing out and across. The sea giant leader, still rattled from accidentally hitting his ally, was unable to react in time. Feeling a sharp pain at its neck, it let out a cry, unleashing all its energy outward in an attempt to buy himself some time. However, the claws of the golden armor transformation were not so easily resisted. The behemoths were known as the invincible titans of the land for a reason, and they focused their strength primarily in their claws. Moreover, these particular claws were further enhanced by the toughness of the golden mammoth. The sea blue energy was instantly sliced apart, and Tang San's claws reached the sea giant leader's neck. However, he paused for a brief moment, then propelled himself upward, his right foot stomping down on the sea giant leader's shoulder. With a dull thud, the 30-meter-tall sea giant leader was smashed down into the sea. Meanwhile, Tang San's wings spread wide behind him, keeping him suspended in midair. At this moment, the sea dragon leader finally managed to emerge from the sea, shaking its dazed dragon head. The look in its eyes as he gazed at Tang San now clearly showed shock and fear. Tang San looked at it calmly and said indifferently, "Do you want to continue?" The sea giant leader also emerged from the sea, exchanging a glance with the sea dragon leader. Both of them were deeply shaken. Both were members of the most powerful species in the sea, both were sea kings, and both were usually very proud. They never would have imagined that today, facing this seemingly insignificant human who had not even reached godhood, they would be utterly suppressed. In a 2-on-1 battle, and without the human using the ability that could suppress their bloodlines. What terrifying strength! They simply couldn't fathom how someone who hadn't undergone a tribulation could be so powerful. Whether it was attack, defense, speed, or timing, there were virtually no flaws. The Sea Walrus clan elder was also deeply alarmed. Though it prided itself on its thick skin, there was no way it would dare use its body to withstand the sharpness of Tang San's claws. If Tang San hadn't shown mercy, the sea giant leader's massive head would likely have been separated from its body a few moments ago. Seeing that the two leaders remained silent, Tang San retracted his claws, and the golden armor covering him disappeared. With that, his physique returned to its normal size. The golden trident mark reappeared on his forehead, but this time it didn't release any pressure. Instead, a pale golden aura rapidly spread out, and immediately countless strands of faith energy within the sea were drawn to him, surging toward his location. This energy not only flowed into Tang San, replenishing the energy he had expended in battle, but also entered the bodies of the sea giant and sea dragon leaders. Both the sea dragon leader and the sea giant leader had sustained some injuries, one from being struck by his companion's pillar, and the other from being stomped full force by Tang San. However, as the faith energy from the sea nourished them, they could clearly feel their bloodline auras becoming more vigorous. Their injuries healed rapidly and soon disappeared entirely. Even their energy flow became smoother, the sensation so pleasant that they almost let out a sigh of relief. The other sea beasts nearby, including the clansmen of the two leaders, also felt the nourishing effect of the faith energy on their bodies. The way they looked at Tang San slowly began to change. Tang San's voice echoed in the minds of every sea clan member present. Circulate your bloodline power and guide it with your spiritual power. Feel the changes within yourselves. Almost instinctively, they followed Tang San's instructions, actively guiding their bloodlines. Indeed, this power of faith was quite extraordinary. As it nourished them, each sea beast could feel subtle yet remarkable changes occurring in their bloodlines. While the changes weren't drastic, they were on a qualitative level, something they had never experienced in their entire lives. In the midst of this miraculous change, they felt as if their bloodlines were being purified, and even evolving in some way. Those that were not yet gods felt this sensation even more acutely than their more powerful leaders. Tang San hovered above the sea, a faint golden aura enveloping him. The golden trident mark on his forehead shone brilliantly, making him appear like a true deity. Facing powerful demon kings with first-tier bloodlines, Tang San would likely be fine in a 1-on-1 battle on land, but a 2-on-1 would be much more challenging. Gods had a much higher recovery rate, and their divine consciousness gave them a significant advantage. But it was different in the sea. The sea was Tang San's domain, and here, his power was much greater, and his recovery rate was in no way inferior to that of any 10th Order powerhouse. In this battle, he had used most of his bloodline abilities. It wasn't that he desperately needed them to win, but his main objective in terms of cultivation right now was integrating all his abilities into a consistent whole, and that could only be done through fighting powerful opponents. Unfortunately, such powerful opponents were hard to come by, so he could not be happier about this fight. The pressure these two sea beasts brought was just right to help him refine his abilities. After all, the bloodline imprints had already been cultivated to their limit, but there was still room for improvement in terms of application and coordination of his abilities. Soon, he had recovered to his optimal state, so he retracted the aura of the sea god's trident. The faith power from the endless blue sea was very suitable for his cultivation, but it was best to wait until after his breakthrough. Without the aura of the sea god's trident as a guide, the faith power naturally dissipated. The many sea beasts awoke as if from a dream. They actually seemed reluctant to part with this power, and they subconsciously looked at Tang San. The sea giant leader couldn't help but ask, "What was this power you summoned just now?" "That was the power of faith. My aura can inspire reverence and worship among the creatures in the sea, thereby generating faith power. The endless blue sea has countless beings, and as long as they sense my aura, they will offer me their faith. In return, I will give back to them, helping them evolve more effectively, creating a positive cycle." "You must have felt some measure of bloodline purification just now, right?" The sea dragon leader nodded and said, "Indeed, it seems like my bloodline has been somewhat purified. You mentioned before that you could help our sea clans produce emperors. Was it through this method?" These two leaders unconsciously began to address Tang San with respect. This showed that strength was indeed the foundation of everything. Tang San's stick and carrot, namely, the beating he'd administered and the kindness he'd shown afterward, made these two leaders subconsciously inclined to believe his words. Tang San nodded slightly. You could say that, but it's not the whole story. The main problem is that I haven't gone through my tribulation yet. Once I do, I can bring you a true transformation, or rather bring some changes to the entire endless blue sea. I am well aware that something is wrong with the endless blue sea. Otherwise, with such a vast area and so many resources, how could it be possible not to produce top-tier powerhouses? Your bloodline is very high tier, but there's something wrong with your bloodline power. It seems impure, as if it has been tainted by something. The sea giant leader's eyes suddenly revealed a look of urgency. Can you solve the problem of our impure bloodlines? It's hard to say. It depends on where the problem originates, and I'll only be able to attempt it after my breakthrough to godhood. At that moment, the elder of the Sea Walrus clan let out a cry of lament. Sea plague. It's the sea plague that has affected our bloodlines. Sea plague. Tang San looked at it with some confusion. He understood the word, but he couldn't remember anything from his past life. It's exactly what it sounds like, a scourge that taints the sea, the sea giant leader said bitterly. A hint of dread showed in its eyes. The sea plague is everywhere and nowhere. No one knows when the next outbreak will occur, but every time it does, countless sea beasts perish. Even the strongest ones, once infected, will fall ill. The endless blue sea experiences multiple sea plague outbreaks every year. The largest ones can stretch over tens of thousands of miles. What's most terrifying is that we don't know which clan the sea plague will target. It's different almost every time. The impurity in our bloodlines, as you mentioned, is due to the fact that we have all been affected by the sea plague to some degree. The stronger clans are fortunate. We have much higher resistance, so we are not as easily killed. However, many weaker clans facing the sea plague might be wiped out entirely. Some have been wiped out already. At this point, the sea giant leader couldn't help but close its eyes in pain. In the endless blue sea, there is even an area called the Tainted Yellow Sea, where the bodies of all sea creatures that died from the sea plague are washed ashore. There is a kingdom of corpses there, home to many undead beings. It is also a place of disaster. The leaders of our clans have made countless efforts over hundreds of years, but none have been able to solve the problem of the sea plague. My lord, if you can help us rid ourselves of the sea plague, then we will all believe that you are the guardian sent by the sea god to watch over us. Tang San nodded and said in a deep voice, This is the first time I've heard of this. If it's possible, I will do everything in my power to help you solve this problem. The leaders all expressed joy. They felt something different from Tang San, a genuine sense of hope. If the sea plague could be resolved, then there would truly be hope for the endless blue sea. Let's have a discussion. You can tell me about the situation with the sea plague, and I'll explain the purpose of my visit, Tang San said. The sea giant leader nodded. All right. Tang San asked, Shall we talk on the shore or in the sea? Let's stay in the sea. Most of our clan members cannot go ashore without facing various problems. Only a few, like the Sea Walrus clan, can survive on land, but even they must return to the sea after a while. If you don't mind, please sit on my shoulder. Tang San nodded and was about to move to the sea giant's shoulder when the sea dragon leader said, Why go with that guy? You should ride on my back. Our sea dragons are the largest sea beasts in the endless blue sea. The sea giant leader sneered. That title belongs to the Sea Dragon King, and last time I checked, that wasn't you. And who was it that I just knocked out earlier? You dare to bring that up? Did you fucking hit me on purpose? Raged the sea dragon leader. Tang San sighed helplessly. He wasn't here to watch the two of them bicker. Alright, you two, stop arguing. I'll just fly. Let me first explain my intentions. I am human, as you can see, but I have indeed inherited the bloodline of the sea god. Because of this, I possess certain unique abilities in the endless blue sea. Over the years, I have been growing up on the demon continent, and only recently, as my cultivation has advanced, did I decide to come to the endless blue sea as I approach my tribulation. I would first like to ask you, how much do you know about the demon continent? The sea walrus elder said in a deep voice. The demon continent is a forbidden zone for our clans. There are many powerful beings there, including formidable emperors. In the past, those emperors even attempted to invade us. They only gave up after realizing the trouble caused by the sea plague. I suppose they feared that it might spread to the land. But our sea clans cannot contend with them there. Those demons and nymphs are too powerful. Tang San said. Yes, the demons and nymphs are powerful. Under their oppression, other races can only struggle to survive, and the human race is no exception. I am the heir of the sea god, but I am also human. To ensure the survival of our people, I came here to find a suitable habitat for humans, to send some of them to the islands here, and allow them to avoid being destroyed by demons and nymphs. In other words, I came to find a place island. I wonder if your sea clans would allow humans to migrate and live on these sea islands. The leaders exchanged glances, none of them expecting Tang San to make such a request. They had originally thought that Tang San was here to take the lead of the sea clans. The Sea Walrus Elder said, "There are many islands in the endless blue sea. This archipelago is relatively large, but there are even bigger places. As the sea giant leader mentioned earlier, most of our sea clans are not suited for living on land, so these islands aren't significant to us. If humans were to migrate here, it probably wouldn't affect us much. But there are a few concerns. First, how will humans survive? Would they hunt sea beasts? Of course, we all eat fish, but those of us who are intelligent cannot be hunted. Otherwise, peaceful coexistence is impossible. Another issue is that humans would also face the sea plague upon arrival. According to our sea clan's historical records, all species affected by the sea plague suffer its consequences. Human bodies, as I recall, are quite fragile. If they were to encounter the sea plague, it could be disastrous." Tang San nodded. "I understand. The food is not a problem, of course. So if I can solve the problem of the sea plague, the sea clans can allow humans to live on the islands. Is that correct?" The sea dragon leader, ever the impatient one, responded without hesitation. "If you can help us eliminate the sea plague, then I will personally grovel in front of you and acknowledge you as the sea god. Nothing is more important than this, nothing. You have no idea how many sea creatures have died because of the sea plague. The tainted yellow sea is continuously expanding because countless corpses are being absorbed into it, causing that death zone to keep growing. If this continues, one day the endless blue sea will be renamed as the endless yellow sea. When that happens, it will be a catastrophe for the entire planet. And in spite of what those land dwellers seem to believe, even the demon continent will not be spared." Tang San nodded and said, "I understand. However, to solve the sea plague, I need to see it myself. Is there an outbreak somewhere nearby right now? If there's a place where the sea plague is running rampant, take me there so I can see if I can solve it." In his previous life, Tang San was not only the sea god's heir but also a master of poisons. He had profound knowledge in treating diseases and plagues. Moreover, he had many methods to deal with problems that arose in the sea specifically. Therefore, he felt fairly confident in his ability to address this issue. The sea giant leader said, "The sea plague erupts every now and then. We just don't know in which area it will appear. How about this? We'll immediately mobilize our people to investigate, and we'll enlist the help of other sea clans. Once we discover an outbreak, we'll inform you so you can inspect it. How does that sound?" Tang San nodded and said, "That's fine for me. How about this? I'll first set up a teleportation array on this island. I'll visit frequently, and when you have news you can come find me here. But with that said, our human race does indeed need an offshore settlement. Let's not talk about other places for now. Could we use this island for the moment? We'll start with some basic construction to ensure humans can survive here. If I can't solve the sea plague, we'll vacate the island later. But if I do, we can then bring in some more people. What do you think?" The leaders exchanged glances and ultimately, their gazes focused on the elder of the Sea Walrus clan. The sea giant leader said, "Elder, this is the territory of your clan. You should decide." The elder looked at Tang San, and without much hesitation nodded and said, "Our Sea Walrus clan has no issues with this. I will inform our clan right away. I can make the decision regarding this island, so we will kindly ask for the sea god's blessings." The elder of the Sea Walrus clan was different from the sea dragon and sea giant leaders. It was the one who recognized Tang San the most. The reason was simple. It had previously sensed the world-shattering aura brought by Tang San, the aura of the tribulation. This was something that hadn't appeared during Tang San's encounters with the sea giant and sea dragon leaders. The elder of the Sea Walrus clan was now firmly convinced of Tang San's identity as the protector of the sea and the heir to the sea god. Other things might be faked, but the aura of the sea god and the overwhelming power it brought could not be falsified. Additionally, it had its own considerations. This region was the territory of the Sea Walrus clan, so if this sea god could indeed solve the problem of the sea plague, and it allowed his people to migrate here, wouldn't the Sea Walrus clan be the first to receive his help in dealing with the sea plague when it struck? Tang San said, "I'm not the sea god yet, so you don't need to call me that. My name is Tang San. You can just call me by my name." The elder of the Sea Walrus clan replied, "You're too modest. You carry the aura of the sea god, and the power of faith you bring provides us with immense assistance. How could we call you by your name directly? We shall address you as Your Highness instead." The sea giant and sea dragon leaders both nodded in agreement. They were indeed somewhat in awe of Tang San. Despite not being a god himself, he had fully suppressed the two of them in their fight. Although they hadn't fought with all their might, neither had Tang San. And if he hadn't held back, the sea giant leader at least knew that he wouldn't have even had the chance to fight back. This human gave them too strange and miraculous a feeling. Of course, whether he was truly the sea god remained to be seen. It would depend on whether he could solve the problem of the sea plague. Tang San said, "Very well, there's no time to lose. I'll start by setting up a teleportation array here. Afterward, I'll send some humans over to build a settlement, and then we'll gradually move more people. If you discover any sea plague nearby, notify me immediately. I'll be spending most of my time on this island anyway." Through his discussions with the leaders, Tang San gained much more insight into the endless blue sea. He had a hypothesis that he hadn't voiced, one regarding the fundamental cause of this sea plague phenomenon. Tang San couldn't help but recall the scenes he had seen in the Hell Garden, and the feelings he had experienced on the Celestial Fox Sacred Mountain. On the Demon Continent, the ancestral court gathered the fortune of the entire planet, bringing fortune to the demon and nymph clans. And ever since he'd seen the Celestial Fox Sacred Mountain, he'd been wondering where the inevitable result of that cluster of fortune, namely, an equal cluster of misfortune, could be. That question had become even more urgent after seeing the Hell Garden, and now he finally had a clue. Could the sea plague be the result of this misfortune? During the battle just now, Tang San had used the polar luck domain, and at that time, he vaguely sensed that the misfortune side seemed much stronger here than on the Demon Continent, while luck was relatively scarce. In a way, it wasn't wrong to describe the endless blue sea as cursed. And where did this curse come from? Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, you sure are a formidable one. As to whether his suspicion was correct, he would have to see the sea plague himself to make a judgment. The issues he wanted to address on this voyage had mostly been resolved. Additionally, he had made considerable gains and found a path to establish good relations with the sea clans. Setting up the teleportation array was already a familiar task for him. The materials were ready, as Tang San had planned to build the array before setting out, so he was naturally well prepared. Soon, the teleportation array was completed, and it was entrusted to the Sea Walrus clan to guard. After setting it up, Tang San tested it himself by attempting a teleportation. A few hundred nautical miles was nothing for his long-distance teleportation array, especially with the guidance of the spacetime beacon and considering he was only teleporting himself. With a flicker of light, the teleportation array was activated. Tang San took a step forward and vanished into thin air. The strange spatial fluctuations from the teleportation left the Sea Clan leaders stunned. They had never seen anything before, as no Sea Clan had any spatial abilities to speak of. At that moment, their hope that Tang San might be able to solve the sea plague grew even stronger. Tang San directly teleported back to Golden Valley. He wasn't worried about setting up a teleportation array in the sea that could connect to this place. Without a spacetime beacon or space attribute bloodline abilities, even great sea kings wouldn't be able to operate the array and follow him. Additionally, the sea clans had no emperors, so the possibility of them threatening his life was practically non-existent. If he hadn't already reached a bottleneck and couldn't casually absorb the power of faith, the sea would be the most suitable place for his cultivation. Once he broke through to godhood, he would certainly return to the endless blue sea to continue his cultivation there. Without taking a break, Tang San immediately contacted Mei Gongzi, informing her that he had returned. He asked her to come to Golden Valley to discuss the matter of migrating humans to the island. Mei Gongzi was now a purple class redeemer, one of the highest-ranking members within the Redemption Society. Even in the ancestral court, as Tang San had heard from his teacher, there were only 2 other purple class people. Thus, Mei Gongzi had full authority over matters in Kali City and could make decisions in this matter. Soon Mei Gongzi arrived through the teleportation array. Seeing that Tang San had returned safely, her first reaction was to breathe a sigh of relief. "You're back so soon. Did everything go smoothly?" "I told you it'd go smoothly. After all, the sea is my domain. I found an archipelago with large islands suitable for humans. I've also communicated with the sea clans there, and they've agreed to let our people move there. So we need to prepare for the migration and we need to do it fast." "How is the progress at the port?" "We found a good place to build and we moved plenty of materials there, but we faced some interference. There are a lot of sea beasts around. Although there aren't many powerful beings near the coast, as soon as we start constructing shipyards and whatnot, they start meddling." Tang San pondered for a moment and then said, "I'll handle that. You need to mobilize everyone to build the ships as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, I'll use the teleportation array to transport some of our people to the islands to start building a settlement and establish a port on the other side of the sea route. This way, we can open up the sea routes in the shortest possible time. Mei Gongzi furrowed her brow slightly. We'll speed up, but I'm starting to understand your concerns more and more. The news that I've become the Lord of Kali City has still leaked out, even though we've tried to keep it from spreading. More and more of our people are gathering here, especially after hearing that we have a dedicated human settlement. The humans in the two main cities closest to Kali City are leaving toward us in droves. The total population has almost reached 1 million. With numbers like these, it's impossible not to draw the ancestral court's attention. We've been a bit too hasty. Tang San sighed softly. Indeed, he had expected this to happen, but that didn't mean it was an easy problem to deal with. It's because our people have suffered under the demon clans for so long. Now that they finally have you as their pillar of support, how could they hold back? That's why we need to think even more about their safety. Time is of the essence. The ancestral court won't act immediately. They await your report. But once they do act, it will be problematic. We need to move out even faster than I originally expected. Make sure all our people with a demonic god transformation are involved in the port's construction. I'll start making some array discs right now, and you can take them back with you. The array discs that Tang San wanted to create were something he couldn't entrust to his master or anyone else. Only he could make them because he had to leave a trace of his divine consciousness imprint within them. Only the sea god's divine consciousness could truly keep the sea beasts at bay. As his cultivation advanced, the sheer amount and quality of his spiritual power made the conversion to divine consciousness much faster than before. In the past, he wouldn't have dared to do this, as every bit of divine consciousness was precious. Now, however, Tang San had discovered that if he cultivated within the sea, with the aid of the power of faith, the rate at which his spiritual power transformed into divine consciousness increased significantly. The next step was to solve the issue of the sea plague. If he could do that, there was no doubt that he would immediately gain the support of the sea clans. Although his current cultivation level wouldn't make them worship him as a god, it would at least ensure that human migration to the endless blue sea wouldn't be a problem. Soon, Tang San crafted 2 array discs and handed them to Mei Gongzi, instructing her to place them on either side of the harbor, submerged in seawater. The discs would naturally absorb the power of faith through his divine consciousness while emitting the aura of the sea god, ensuring that no sea beasts would disturb the nearby waters. Tang San needed to continue making these array discs for a simple reason. He needed to place them on the ships to be constructed. With the discs radiating his aura, it would be as if he were on the ships himself. Over the next month, Tang San and Mei Gongzi became extremely busy. Tang San chose a secure location within the human settlement outside Kali City, and built a teleportation array there, which was guarded by Wu Bingji, Gu Li, Chang Zicheng, and Du Bai. After discussing with Zhang Haoshuan, they began quietly sending people out. Given Tang San's current cultivation power, such long-distance teleportation could only transport a few dozen people at a time, and they couldn't have particularly high cultivation. The first to be transported were trustworthy individuals who had no reason to return to the demon continent anytime soon. They also brought tools to start clearing the islands, establishing ports, and planting seeds to pave the way for the future human population. Everything was carried out in secrecy, but since Tang San had not yet reached godhood, even with Mei Gongzi's assistance, he could only manage 3 teleportations daily, transporting around 100 people. That was the limit. Anything more would deplete him. After a month, around 2,000 people had been migrated, including 100 who possessed the demonic god transformation. On the other side, the Sea Walrus clan had also helped to some extent. The elder of the Sea Walrus clan highly appreciated Tang San, and with the massive bodies of the walruses, the construction of the port became much less labor-intensive for the people. With 2,000 people as the vanguard, Tang San felt that it was enough, and he stopped teleporting people out. The first port in the waters near Kali City had taken shape, and the construction of ships had begun. In this area, both humans and demons were lacking experience, as those on the demon continent never ventured out to sea. Tang San had to stay by the shore to provide guidance and even personally assist, using his formidable strength to help them build the ships. Fortunately, the demon continent had no shortage of resources. The dense, hardwood available made for excellent shipbuilding material, particularly the ironflower trees. With the help of many powerful individuals, including gods like Zhang Haoshuan, the process was swift. In just half a month, the first 3-masted ship was completed. Now, however, they faced another challenge. There was a ship, but nobody knew how to sail it. Tang San had to step in again, this time to train the crew. Humans were lacking in some aspects, but fortunately, intelligence was not one of them, and learning to operate the three-masted ship wasn't too difficult. The real challenge lay in dealing with storms, various weather changes, and attacks from sea beasts. At least with the latter issue, Tang San's Sea God Array Disc solved it before it even became a problem. Thus, a group of people started learning how to navigate. They would be the first sailors in the history of this continent. The shipbuilding continued, but Tang San didn't help with that, and neither did he rush to transport more people to the islands. Instead, he took the first group of people who had learned to navigate and set sail for the islands. They took turns steering the ship and practicing raising and lowering the sails, while Tang San provided guidance. After one round trip, this first batch of 100 sailors was basically capable of handling the ship on their own. A round trip from the eastern shore of the continent to the island and back only took about 3 days with the help of a Sea God Array Disc and a few people with wind attribute bloodlines. A fully loaded three-masted ship could carry as many as 500 people at once, plus cargo. This was the limit of its capacity. This meant that 500 people or so could be transported to the island every 3 days. However, given that there was currently only one ship and more sailors and captains had to be trained, the actual number of passengers would be slightly lower. Even so, by the 4th month of Mei Gongzi's rule as the Lord of Kali City, the migration of humans to offshore islands had officially begun. Because the largest island was shaped like a crescent moon, Tang San named it Crescent Island. Besides Crescent Island, there were a number of other islands in the archipelago suitable for human habitation. Tang San had roughly estimated that the entire archipelago could accommodate a population of 1 million. Of course, this depended on the construction keeping pace, and in the beginning, plenty of resources would need to be brought from the mainland. After the first three-masted ship was launched, the speed of construction began to accelerate. The increase in experience greatly improved the shipbuilding pace, especially with the collaborative efforts of many humans with demon bloodlines. Tasks pertaining to lumberjacking and carpentry were completed far more quickly than ordinary people could manage. Everything was proceeding at breakneck pace. According to Tang San's plan, close to 100 ships could be built within 6 months, and within a year, 1 million people had to be transported to the islands and settled there. If this plan succeeded, the countless islands in the sea could accommodate even more humans. With the protection of the sea clans, humans would have a space where they could live without being enslaved. This would also significantly reduce the problem of overcrowding in Kali City. According to the Redemption Society's statistics, there were between 20 and 30 million humans living on the demon continent. Although humans had strong reproductive abilities, under the persecution of the demon and nymph clans, the average human lifespan was somewhere around 20 years. Yes, it was that short. And even so, there were still tens of millions of humans, the vast majority of whom were slaves, with only a small portion being vassals. Humans lacked innate combat abilities and a powerful physique, but they were overall more intelligent than both the demons and the nymphs. The Redemption Society was formed by a small group of wise humans with inherited bloodline abilities. Not all humans with a demonic god transformation considered themselves human. Some vassals believed they were part of their respective demon or nymph clans. However, most half-humans still identified with their human side and harbored hatred for the demon and nymph clans, especially the former, due to the fact that most of their mothers had been murdered. Humans had been struggling amidst continuous abuse and slaughter, yet even so, their numbers still reached into the tens of millions. This was why, upon learning that the new lord of Kali City had human blood, many were willing to do whatever it took, even risk their lives to escape from their masters, to move toward Kali City. Within the jurisdiction of Kali City, things were actually better for humans overall. Even the noble demon clans had to show some respect to the new lord, so their human servants, now technically free of indentured servitude, were treated better. By contrast, in the other main cities, the slave masters were long since grumbling in dissatisfaction. It was at this time that Tang San received notification from the elder of the Sea Walrus clan. A sea plague had broken out. Tang San stepped through the array and found the elder of the Sea Walrus clan already waiting there. In the distance, the sound of hammering could be heard, and the shoreline was bustling with activity. The people who had already migrated were busy almost every day, yet each of them was full of energy and enthusiasm. Humans had never considered the demon continent their home. In fact, they had no home at all. But now that they were here, they finally experienced a feeling they'd never felt in their entire lives. They finally had a place to call their own. Surrounded by the vast ocean, free from the oppressive presence of the demons, they experienced the joy of a boundless sea where fish leaped freely and a vast sky where birds flew high. Here, they were building their true homeland, which gave them far more motivation than even the free settlement near Kali City. So no matter how hard or exhausting the work was, and it was plenty hard and exhausting. They all felt that life was full of hope, and hope was the greatest longing in the human heart. With the dawn of this hope shining upon them, how could they not give their all? Moreover, there was no need to worry about food. The Sea Walrus clan provided them with a plentiful supply of fish, shrimp, and shellfish, which were all delicious and rich in nutrients. Combined with the fruits available on the island, their dietary needs were fully met. With human farming capabilities, they would start reaping harvests within 6 months, and they would also learn sea fishing, becoming self-sufficient. Tang San looked at the elder of the Sea Walrus clan and asked directly, "Where is the sea plague?" The elder of the Sea Walrus clan responded urgently, "It's about 1,000 nautical miles south of here, and it's spreading rapidly. Several of our clan elders have already gone there, but all we can do now is try to slow the spread of the sea plague. Based on past experience though, it's like trying to stop a giant wave with a palm leaf." Tang San nodded. "Let's go take a look." "Follow me, Your Highness." The sea clans had differing views on his identity. Eventually, they agreed to refer to him as Your Highness, since they could not recognize him as the sea god for the time being. Tang San was fine with that. The elder twisted its massive body and rolled into sea, while Tang San leaped into the air and landed on its back. A faint gray-blue halo erupted from the elder's body, and its massive form suddenly accelerated, heading southward. In terms of speed, the Sea Walrus clan couldn't compare to the Sea Shark clan, but this elder was a sea king, equivalent to a demon king on land. With its control over the seawater, its speed was incredibly fast. As they traveled, Tang San silently absorbed the power of faith from the sea, keeping himself in peak condition. Soon, he noticed that the number of sea beasts and other marine creatures in the nearby waters was noticeably increasing. They were likely fleeing the sea plague. He had heard from the elder of the Sea Walrus clan that the spread of the sea plague was terrifying. Not only did the seawater itself carry the plague, but infected marine creatures also spread the plague wherever they went. As a result, once an outbreak of sea plague occurred, it became uncontrollable, causing massive death tolls among marine life, and the polluted waters could take many years to recover. Covering 1,000 nautical miles at full speed took them just over an hour. From a distance, he could sense a deathly stillness in the sea, along with surging energy waves. At the same time, he also noticed that the amount of faith power he could absorb was rapidly decreasing. "Your Highness, we're almost there," the elder said nervously. Even as a 10th order being, the natural fear of the sea plague was not something it was spared. Tang San nodded and said, "Let's go take a look." Soon he saw a vast expanse of blue halos surging ahead. These halos spread from the surface of the sea down to the seabed. Numerous powerful sea beasts were spread out, releasing energy in the same direction. The elder of the Sea Walrus clan emitted a strange buzzing sound. Soon a massive figure approached them. It was a sea shark, but unlike any sea shark Tang San had seen before. Not only was this one extraordinarily large, but its entire body was pure white, with golden lines extending from its forehead down its body, emanating an overwhelmingly powerful energy. Seeing this figure, the elder's aura noticeably quivered. Sea Shark King. Upon seeing the massive white shark, Tang San couldn't help but feel a strange sense of familiarity. In his previous life on the Douluo continent, he had known the Demon Soul Great White Sharks and had been friends with the Demon Soul Great White Shark King. This Sea Shark King was nearly 20 meters long, simply massive, and its aura was so potent that the surrounding seawater seemed to be boiling. However, Tang San could sense that it was just at the initial stage of a great sea king. The Sea Shark King's gaze instantly locked onto Tang San, and in the next moment white halos surged, followed by waves of divine consciousness. "Is this the one you believe to be the sea god's emissary?" The elder of the Sea Walrus clan was noticeably uneasy in the presence of the Sea Shark King. After all, their two clans were ancient enemies, and its cultivation level clearly couldn't compare to the one before it. The elder feared being seen as lunch by the Sea Shark King. "That's right, this is the sea god's emissary," the elder hastily replied. The Sea Shark King silently sensed the aura emanating from Tang San, and its eyes revealed a strange expression, tinged with a hint of ferocity. It could undoubtedly feel an aura from Tang San that made even it feel a slight urge to submit. But as a sovereign of its own great clan and one of the most bloodthirsty beings in the ocean, its first thought was whether consuming this human might bring it benefits. Tang San nodded toward the great shark. "Greetings, Sea Shark King." The Sea Shark King stared intently at Tang San and asked, "Can you solve the sea plague?" Tang San shrugged. "I don't know, but I can certainly try." The Sea Shark King's gaze turned cold. "You'd better be able to, or else a small human like you who can only imitate the gods would be better suited as my snack." Tang San looked at it calmly, not angered by its words. "How about we make a bet?" What if I succeed? If you can solve the sea plague, then I'll recognize you as the sea god's emissary. How about that? If I can solve the sea plague, everyone will recognize me as such. That's nothing special. No, if I do it, you will be my mount in the endless blue sea for the next year. If I fail, then I suppose I am better suited to be your snack. The Sea Shark King's eyes suddenly filled with ferocity, and a powerful aura surged toward Tang San. As a great sea king, the ruler of its clan, and one of the most ferocious beings in the endless blue sea, this sea shark was virtually unrivaled, feared by all but the strongest clans like the sea dragons and sea giants. Being such a proud creature, at the very top of the food chain, Tang San's suggestion of making it his mount was infuriating. But at that moment, a golden light suddenly shone from Tang San's forehead, and golden patterns became clear. A strange wave of divine consciousness pulsed out, not overwhelmingly strong, but carrying a boundless aura that all the nearby marine creatures could sense. There were many sea beasts present, grouped by clan, and each was pouring out its own energy to fend off something in the distance. At that moment, when they sensed the aura emanating from behind them, they were instantly revitalized. In a flash, they felt as if they had been blessed, and the energy they were emitting noticeably strengthened. The formidable pressure that the Sea Shark King had unleashed unexpectedly softened under the influence of Tang San's golden divine consciousness, and it passed harmlessly around him. In the next moment, Tang San rose from the back of the sea walrus elder, slowly ascending. As he emerged from the sea, Tang San's aura surged once more as the golden armor transformation took over. Golden armor instantly covered his entire body, and golden wings opened on his back, propelling him upward like a streak of golden light. He ascended to a height of 100 meters instantly. Immediately after, a beam of white light shot up behind him, transforming into a young man dressed in a white robe. He had a handsome appearance, though his face bore a fierce expression. The new human-looking person was, of course, the Sea Shark King. His eyes revealed a mixture of suspicion and uncertainty. Just moments earlier, when Tang San activated his divine consciousness, the Sea Shark King had clearly felt its influence. Not only had his oppressive aura failed to overwhelm Tang San, but his instinctive urge to worship Tang San had also grown stronger. Most intriguingly, the Sea Shark King noticed an intense fluctuation in his bloodline, which had remained stagnant since reaching the level of Great Sea King. He had followed Tang San out to see how he would confront the sea plague. Ahead, vast patches of mottled purple colored the sea. The once clear waters were now murky and polluted. Countless marine creatures' corpses floated on the surface, decomposing continuously. If not for a barrier of blue light at the edge holding it back, the spread would have been even faster. The sea plague, there was no doubt about it. This murky sea area was the sea plague, with purple, yellow, and green being the dominant colors, all exuding an eerie aura of death and corruption. At a glance, the sea plague seemed to stretch endlessly, with no visible boundary. Who knew how many nautical miles it covered or how many lives had been lost to it? As the sea god, Tang San couldn't help but feel his heart ache at the sight. He suddenly turned, looking in the direction of the demon continent, and his gaze turned completely cold. Seeing the sea plague firsthand had fully confirmed Tang San's suspicions. Through his discerning eye of heaven, he could see that this sea was filled with nothing but endless misfortune. It was a cursed region, and in his vision, the intense curse appeared as a complete black void of fortune. Tang San's fists clenched involuntarily. To strengthen the demon and nymph races, to give them more power and glory, you are willing to sacrifice every other life form on this planet, and even the planet itself. How selfish, how cruel. Despicable demon continent, treacherous ancestral court. I will see to it that you get your comeuppance. On this abundantly fertile Phelan planet, which had more than enough resources for everyone living on it, it wasn't just humans who suffered. It was every single being apart from demons and nymphs. How could he stand by and do nothing? With a single step, Tang San had already charged into the mottled sea ahead. As he moved, his voice echoed behind him. Stay back. The Sea Shark King, who had been about to follow him, paused for a moment. With his rebellious nature, he was not one to obey anyone's orders, much less the orders of a puny creature that wasn't even a god. Yet when he heard Tang San's words for some reason, he felt compelled to comply. He could also sense the deep pain and anger radiating from Tang San's aura. Thus he stopped unconsciously. The next moment, as he realized what he had done and was about to follow Tang San anyway, he noticed that Tang San's body had begun to glow brightly. Brilliant golden light suddenly burst forth. In that instant, the dazzling light was so intense that even a powerful being like the Sea Shark King had to squint his eyes. The golden light was filled with a vast and boundless presence, carrying an overwhelming majesty. The anger that the Sea Shark King had previously sensed from Tang San was now fully unleashed, radiating without restraint. It was as if the fury of the sea itself was rising, as if the oppressive might of heaven itself descended upon them. Although the Sea Shark King could tell that Tang San's divine consciousness was weaker than his own, at this moment, he felt a sense of overwhelming power that he could not resist. The golden light emanating from Tang San grew increasingly intense. The symbol of the sea god's trident on his forehead burst forth with unprecedented brilliance. Above him, the sky quickly darkened. With Tang San's divine consciousness fully unleashed, his impending tribulation was inevitable. But at that moment, Tang San pressed his right hand against his forehead. A halo of black and white light suddenly expanded outward, causing the darkened sky to momentarily pause. It was the polar luck domain. Tang San used his domain power to momentarily obscure the will of the heavens. In the next moment, an ethereal golden trident appeared in his hand. Golden light burst from Tang San's eyes as he raised the trident high above his head. Suddenly, the sea began to boil. When he raised the sea god's trident, the entire sea, both the mottled waters tainted by the sea plague and the still pure water of the endless blue sea behind the blue light barrier, began to boil. Waves surged skyward, reaching 100 meters in height. This was the wrath of the sea god. A surge of the most intense emotion from deep within the sea god's heart. In the depths of the sea, the powerful sea beasts that were holding back the sea plague felt a mighty surge of anger within their hearts. They sensed the deep emotion coming from the very depths of the sea, an emotion that seemed to originate from the sea itself. Each of their bloodlines boiled violently, and their auras rapidly intensified. Unconsciously, they all lifted their heads, merging their own anger with the fury that emanated from the heavens, igniting the rage within their very blood. The Sea Shark King watched in astonishment as countless blue lights began to rise from the endless blue sea, merging continuously with the golden light in the sky. That golden light illuminated the heavens, driving away the darkness. The golden light around Tang San grew ever more radiant, and the light of the trident in his hand was like a sunbeam descending from heaven. Under the blinding golden radiance, the mottled sea below began to change. Though the waves still surged, it seemed that countless patches of murky air were evaporating, gradually turning into nothingness under the illumination of the golden light. No one and nothing is permitted to taint the sea. Tang San's cold, majestic voice echoed through the sky as a beam of golden light suddenly shot out from the tips of the sea god's trident, piercing into the murky sea plague in an instant. In an instant, everything around, both sky and sea, turned gold. Brilliant, resplendent gold. Tang San's divine consciousness was rapidly depleting, but in this moment, he held nothing back. Since coming to this world, this was the first time, aside from that time he'd risked his life for Mei Gongzi, that he had unleashed his divine consciousness without reservation. Even if it ended up causing the plane to be more wary of him, he had no regrets. What was the sea god? If he couldn't protect the sea, what right did he have to be its god? The filth of the sea plague receded at a visible pace. Ghostly remnants of souls began to rise from the sea's surface. The weaker souls were barely wisps of smoke, while the stronger ones were larger, with some even exceeding a meter in diameter. There was no doubt that these were the spirits of sea beasts that had perished in the sea plague. Yet, at this moment, their lingering souls were no longer tainted. Bathed in the pure golden light, they too became pure. They gently floated upward, drifting toward the golden figure in the sky, merging resolutely into the golden light. It was as if only by doing so could they be saved. Tang San had not yet reached godhood. Could he purify such a vast sea plague with his strength alone? Impossible. He lacked that level of power. But he was the sea god, and his body was the host of the sea god's divinity. Here this was his domain. Those lingering souls, the power of their faith, they were the source of his strength. Instead of weakening as he fully unleashed his divine consciousness, his aura grew stronger, expanding to cover an even broader area, purifying the sea plague below. His form continued to grow larger, gradually reaching a height of 100 meters. He resembled a giant bathed in gold, as if the true sea god was descending. Under his power, the filthy sea plague rapidly receded. The Sea Shark King hovered in the sky, silently watching the scene unfold, his once fierce gaze now filled with shock. This scene was etched deeply into his memory, something it knew he would never be able to forget for the rest of his life. The sea plague was a tremendous disaster for every being of the endless blue sea. With his current level of cultivation, the sea plague could no longer do much to the Sea Shark King, but that was just the Sea Shark King. He had been powerless to do anything but watch as his weaker kin were wiped out by the plague. Yet, at this very moment, this human who claimed to be the sea god's heir was actually purifying the sea plague. and even seemed to be cleansing the spirits of the marine creatures that had perished. This was unprecedented in the history of the endless blue sea. In that moment, all traces of ferocity vanished from his heart. The blood that had once been cold now burned with intense heat. The Sea Shark King found himself letting out his aura and bloodline power without reservation, merging them into the golden light, aiding Tang San in his efforts. If even a great sea king like him could be moved to such an extent, there was no need to mention the others. At this moment in the endless blue sea, all living beings were united as one. All their collective power converged toward the golden figure. The tainted seawater gradually returned to a clear blue. The skeletal remains floating within the golden light were purified as they were absorbed into the sea god's golden power, which then scattered them away, returning them to the sea where they belonged. And as they rejoined the embrace of the sea, every ounce of soul power they had become one with the sea. At some point, the elder of the Sea Walrus clan had also surfaced. As it also let out its power, tears streamed down its face. It could feel the deep joy and release emanating from the countless marine creatures that had been purified after death. This part of the endless blue sea, minutes ago steeped in a fatal sickness, was now filled with warmth and comfort as it underwent purification. Tang San's divine consciousness continued to deplete, but it was also constantly being replenished thanks to the unity of the sea clans. Under his guidance, their combined power worked together to dispel the misfortune, cleanse the deathly taint, and restore the purity of the sea below. The misfortune was gradually dissipating, but Tang San's mood remained heavy. This mass of misfortune was, of course, the inverse of an equal mass of fortune. As the ancestral court's celestial fox sacred mountain drew in the majority of the planet Phelan's fortune, the resulting misfortune would inevitably appear elsewhere. Even if it wasn't the sea plague, it would always manifest in another place. The balance had to be preserved. The heavens were fair, and this was the way the fairness manifested. He could solve the immediate problem, but he couldn't eliminate all misfortune. The heavens were balanced and they would never accept that. Only by dispersing the concentrated fortune in the ancestral court could the balance of the planet's fate be restored, preventing further misfortune from arising and plaguing countless living beings. What a clan you are, Celestial Fox Clan! Perhaps you are the only clan that should not exist in this world. For your own selfish gain, for the sake of your fellow demons and nymphs, you traded the lives of all other races. How selfish, how cruel! The ethereal sea god trident shot out from Tang San's hand, transforming into a golden halo that spread into the distance. Countless points of light followed the golden halo, and from all directions, more light points merged into it, rapidly purifying the entire region shrouded by the sea plague. The golden light surrounding Tang San quickly faded, and he began to descend from the sky, falling toward the sea. Under his guidance, with the sea god's power at the center, the combined faith and strength of the sea clans made the purification of the sea plague no longer an issue. It was not his individual effort but the collective effort of the sea clans that made this purification possible. On his own he could never have achieved this, but with his leadership everything proceeded smoothly. A massive white figure suddenly appeared beneath him, catching him as he fell. It was the Sea Shark King, who had reverted to his great white shark form. The earlier purification did not weaken Tang San. The faith power from countless marine creatures had replenished his depleted divine consciousness. He refrained from continuing because the tribulation clouds in the sky, which he had temporarily obscured, were beginning to gather again. This forced him to disperse the sea god's power, leaving the sea clans to continue the purification themselves. Though the process would be slower, it was sustainable for as long as it was necessary. Your Highness! The Sea Walrus Elder had also arrived nearby. Its massive form bowed deeply before Tang San. Rubbish, what do you mean by Highness? The Sea Shark King's furious voice rang out, causing a shockwave that the Walrus Elder flying. The Sea Walrus Elder looked at the Sea Shark King in confusion, but the Sea Shark King's voice was now filled with pride as he continued. This is the Sea God, the one the heavens have bestowed upon us to be the ruler of the endless blue sea. He is the divine Lord who will lead us out of despair. You useless fools couldn't even recognize the Sea God before. You're the most worthless of the worthless. Sea God, just say the word, and I'll tear it apart and serve it to you as food. Walrus fat is quite rich and tasty. Tang San was speechless. Brother, if you want to eat it yourself, you should just say so. A sea walrus god was surely a tempting treat for someone like the Sea Shark King. He shook his head and admonished the shark. The sea clans should coexist peacefully. The Sea Shark King, however, was unconcerned. Survival of the fittest. The weak are meant to be the food of the strong. Otherwise, wouldn't the strong starve to death? Tang San didn't want to argue with the Sea Shark King, so he said in a serious tone, Alright, this area of the sea plague has been purified. It won't be long before it completely disappears. I also have a rough idea of how the sea plague originated. There is a way to completely resolve it, though I can't do it just yet. I need to head back now. No problem, where do you want to go? The Sea Shark King immediately responded. Tang San couldn't help but smile. You really want to be my mount? The Sea Shark King replied without hesitation. Absolutely. Only I am worthy of being your mount. It's an honor for me. Tang San chuckled, somewhat in disbelief at the shark's sudden change in attitude. Let's go back to Crescent Island first. Then I need to discuss a few things with you. Mainly how we can address the sea plague. Crescent Island? What's that? The Sea Shark King asked in confusion. The Sea Walrus Elder quickly explained, and the Sea Shark King immediately understood. Alright, let's head there now. With Tang San's approval, the Sea Shark King shot out in an instant. White light enveloped Tang San, protecting him as the Sea Shark King moved through the sea like a white lightning bolt. He was far faster than the Sea Walrus Elder. It had taken Tang San a full hour to get there from Crescent Island, but the return trip barely took 5 minutes. Tang San secretly praised himself. He'd chosen the most perfect mount. In the endless blue sea, teleportation wasn't very reliable without fixed coordinates, because it was easy to get lost afterward. A reliable guide like the Great Shark King was simply invaluable. When the Sea Shark King's aura descended upon Crescent Island, the surrounding Sea Walrus clan members were genuinely terrified. Fortunately, Tang San quickly released his own aura, calming them down. Even so, they still kept their distance, trembling in fear. The Sea Shark clan was the greatest natural enemy of the Sea Walrus clan, and even the Sea Walrus King might not be able to stand against the Sea Shark King. Moreover, the Sea Shark King was renowned for his ferocity throughout the endless blue sea. The walrus's saving grace was that their defenses were tough, they were massive in size, and they were plentiful in numbers. They were not as easy to bully as their peaceful and lazy nature suggested. When Tang San stepped onto Crescent Island, the Sea Shark King immediately transformed into his human form and joined him on the island. Seeing the humans working on the island, the Sea Shark King couldn't help but look curious. Divine Lord, are these all your people? Tang San nodded and replied, Yes. My people are persecuted by the demon and nymph races on the demon continent, making it difficult for them to survive. I'm opening sea routes to lead more humans to the islands here, giving them a space to live. Crescent Island is the first step. The Sea Shark King nodded in understanding. I see. Well, whatever you need my clan to do, just say the word. In the endless blue sea, aside from the old dragon and a few other annoying characters, there's nothing we can't handle. Sensing the roguish vibe emanating from the Sea Shark King, Tang San couldn't help but chuckle. What should I call you? The Sea Shark King replied. My name is Hammer. Hammer. Tang San found the name somewhat unusual. The Sea Shark King chuckled. Yeah, it's Hammer. What do you think? Nice name for a shark, right? Tang San's mouth twitched slightly. Aren't you a great white shark? However, he wisely refrained from commenting one. Anyway, let's get to the topic. Your Sea Shark clan is one of the fastest in the sea, so I'll leave the task of driving out the sea plague to you. The sea plague originates from misfortune. I am not talking in metaphors. This is a result of the actual power of misfortune befalling the endless blue sea. After seeing it today, I have a plan. The only thing that can truly purify misfortune is the sea's own power. You were helpless before, not because you weren't strong enough, because you weren't united enough. I haven't fully awakened the sea god's power yet, but today I managed to purify the sea plague. How is that possible? Not through my own personal strength, but by guiding everyone to work together, by uniting the sea beasts to cleanse the plague. I'll create some array discs and leave a trace of my divine consciousness in them. When the sea plague appears, any sea beast at the 10th order or above can activate the disc. My divine consciousness will guide the sea beast's power to come together and purify the sea plague. Although the purification might not be as fast as if I were there in person, it will definitely be effective. It's best to start the purification as soon as the sea plague appears to minimize casualties and contain the plague within a small area. Upon hearing this, the Sea Shark King's eyes lit up. Leave this task to me then. From now on, I'll be your emissary. Tang San gave him a deep look and said, Purging the sea plague concerns the safety of the entire endless blue sea. The sea is a complete system and it must be treated as such. No single clan can survive independently. You understand the dangers of the sea plague very well. I don't have to explain anything to you. This matter is of utmost importance to the entire endless blue sea, and personal interests must not compromise it. How could he not see the Sea Shark King's selfish motives? If he handed over all the array discs to this guy, There was no guarantee he wouldn't use them to threaten other clans. The Sea Shark King blushed. Understood, it's a grand plan, a grand plan. Tang San said. Your clansmen are the fastest here, so please send them around to gather representatives from the major powerful clans here as soon as possible. I'll distribute the array discs to everyone. The discs will take some time to create anyway. Also, I will need you to bring some rare metals from the sea for me to use. The Sea Shark King nodded. All right. Tang San continued. Let's meet here 2 weeks from now. I'll come back then. Are there any other large islands near this area, similar to Crescent Island? The Sea Shark King's eyes lit up. Divine Lord, are you looking for more suitable places for humans to settle? The Crescent Island archipelago could support the migration of about 1 million people at most, considering the need for future generations and the importance of maintaining the ecological balance of the surrounding seas. However, there were tens of millions of humans living on the Demon Continent. Was he supposed to just leave them there? Tang San knew that even though solving the sea plague might not make the sea clans fully acknowledge him as the sea god, it would certainly solidify his position among them. Humans would be much safer out on the sea than on the Demon Continent. So, after today, he had decided to move as many humans as possible here, giving them ample space for development. Once he ascended to godhood, he would be able to finalize the paths he had been considering for human cultivation. The Sea Shark King said, in this area, there are quite a few islands to the east and north. How about this? I'll have my clan conduct a thorough survey and then provide a chart for you, Divine Lord. Tang San's eyes lit up. That would be excellent, thank you. The Sea Shark King chuckled. It's no trouble at all, but don't forget what you said before. I'll be your mount in the endless blue sea. This honor can't be given to any other sea clan. This Sea Shark King had led his clan to dominate the food chain of the endless blue sea, to the point where even the more powerful Sea Dragon clan and Sea Giant clan couldn't do much against them. It wasn't just his strength that enabled this, but also his keen ability to assess the situation. Tang San's purification of the sea plague today left a huge impression on the Sea Shark King. He had been closest to Tang San then, and had deeply felt the aura of the sea god emanating from him. The ability to unite the faith power of the entire sea, and bring together different sea clans to work in harmony was something not just unprecedented, but downright miraculous. Even though he wasn't even at the 10th order yet, his presence on the sea filled the Sea Shark King with an intense sense of fear. The Sea Shark King realized that even if he gave his all in battle, he might not be able to truly harm this man. And if the fight dragged on, who knew what might happen? The Sea Shark King still shuddered at the memory of the Golden Trident's intimidation. He knew all too well that someone like Tang San had an unlimited future ahead of him. Maybe he really was the heir of the sea god, and maybe he would turn out to be the savior of the entire endless blue sea. If there was ever a time to cling to such a powerful ally, now was that time. Not only should he cling to Tang San's thigh, but he had to cling hard. If Tang San truly ascended to become the sea god, in other words the first sea emperor, then Hammer would be one of his key supporters. The Sea Shark clan had no shortage of enemies, but with Tang San's protection in the future, what would there be to fear? Tang San gave him a deep look and chuckled lightly. The shark was absolutely shameless, but he wasn't dislikable. You are the fastest, so naturally, you're the most suitable as a mount. Alright, I need to head back now. Notify the other clans as quickly as possible, even those living farther away. That way we can ensure the array discs cover a larger area. This method of purifying the sea plague only treats the symptoms and not the root cause, but it will at least greatly reduce the death toll among the sea clans until we can implement the real solution. The Sea Shark King nodded seriously. I'll follow your orders. With that, Tang San stepped into the teleportation array and returned to Golden Valley. As the light flickered, Tang San emerged from the teleportation array inside Golden Valley, only to find Mei Gongzi waiting outside. Where have you been? I've been waiting for you for half a day, Mei Gongzi said with a slight hint of irritation. Tang San's heart tightened. He could tell from her tone that this wasn't just a playful complaint. There was anxiety and unease in her voice. An outbreak of sea plague appeared near Crescent Island, so I went to help the sea clans cleanse it. What happened? Did something go wrong? Tang San asked seriously. Mei Gongzi's expression grew tense, her brow furrowed as she said, Yes, something went very wrong. Representatives from the Ancestral Court arrived. They ordered me to report to the Ancestral Court ahead of schedule. Hearing this, Tang San was startled. So they can't wait anymore. Is the Ancestral Court that impatient? When do they want you to go? I told them that Cali City was still unstable after the recent transition, and that I couldn't leave right away. The Ancestral Court's emissary said they would give me no more than 3 months. I must report to the Ancestral Court within 3 months, or it will be considered disrespectful, and I'll be stripped of my position as city lord. 3 months. It's been less than 5 months since she took over, so that makes 8 months. They've brought the schedule forward by 4 whole months. Fortunately, Tang San had planned with a good margin for error, and while the 3-month buffer wasn't enough for everything he wanted to do, it also wasn't short enough to catch them completely off guard. He sighed and nodded. 3 months it is. Focus on your cultivation and try to raise your level as much as possible. I'll make the necessary preparations on my end. We'll proceed as planned. Even though the timeline is pushed forward, the plan remains the same. A hint of worry appeared in Mei Gongzi's beautiful eyes. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something but ultimately chose not to speak. Tang San naturally understood the worries in her heart and spoke gently. Don't worry, everything will be fine. I've got this. After helping the sea clans cleanse the sea plague, I'm feeling even more confident. In half a month, I'll have a good talk with all the leaders of the sea clans. I'll likely be spending more time at Crescent Island in the near future, so I'll leave the shipbuilding and migration to you. Our relationship with the sea clans is growing closer, so our migration plans will continue, moving more of our people overseas where the demon and nymph clans can't easily reach them.
All right, Mei Gongzi nodded.
Just seeing Tang San brought her a sense of calm, especially when she looked into his gentle and steady eyes. It made her feel as if everything was under control. Then I'll head back now, Mei Gongzi said, feeling that time was running short, wishing she could make every second count. Wait a moment, Tang San called out to her. Just as Mei Gongzi was wondering what he might still want to say, Tang San stepped forward and wrapped her in his arms. What are you doing? Mei Gongzi's cheeks flushed slightly as she gently tapped his shoulder. Recharging. My strength and confidence come from you. Only when I'm full of energy can I move forward at full speed, Tang San said with a chuckle. Mei Gongzi was taken aback for a moment, then the blush on her cheeks deepened. However, she didn't resist. Instead, she wrapped her arms around his waist and rested her cheek against his chest. Wasn't it the same for her? Only when she was with him did her heart feel truly at peace. Only then did she have a solid foundation. He was the source of her confidence and her strongest support. As she nestled in his embrace, the weariness in her heart seemed to quietly dissipate. The two of them grew closer in spirit. Tang San gently stroked her long hair, the soft strands carrying a subtle fragrance that brought him an indescribable sense of peace. There were many preparations to be made over the next 3 months. Mei Gongzi's report to the ancestral court would not only determine whether she could truly inherit the position of City Lord of Kali City, but also decide if they could genuinely stand against the ancestral court in the future. Everything hinged on this upcoming report. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor likely sensed a shift in fortune, which is why he shifted the schedule of her evaluation. If Tang San weren't afraid of letting Mei Gongzi use the celestial plume, fearing it would cause backlash affecting her very life essence, she would be able to some extent to obscure the workings of fortune. But Tang San would rather face greater danger himself than let her face that danger. What he valued most was their future together, and he understood that what could truly affect that future was not the obvious danger, but the danger hidden behind seemingly innocuous things, like her clan's artifact. As Mei Gongzi was about to leave, Tang San asked her to prepare some materials for him. In the upcoming period, he planned to stay at Crescent Island to craft some more sea god array discs. Within the endless blue sea, his divine consciousness could be quickly replenished through the power of faith, making the crafting of the array discs much faster and more effective. Having confirmed the method to purify the sea plague, Tang San was determined to contribute fully to the endless blue sea. This was a virtuous cycle. He would protect the sea clans, and in return he would receive their support. The power of faith would naturally become easier to gather, and the sea clan's regard for humanity would grow higher. In the following week, powerful sea beasts began gathering at Crescent Island. The first to arrive was the current leader of the Sea Walrus clan, who was also a newly ascended Great Sea King. Traditionally, the Sea Walrus clan lived in the seas near Kali City, and in fact most of the powerful sea clans had their own fixed territories and migration routes. The nomadic Sea Shark clan, which roamed everywhere and slaughtered wherever they went, were the exception. The Sea Walrus clan leader's acknowledgement of Tang San was no lower than that of the Sea Shark King. In fact, this Sea Walrus King was deeply grateful, even to the point of tears, because the sea plague that Tang San had just cleansed was in the Sea Walrus clan's territory. If the plague had spread, the Sea Walrus clan might have been able to escape, but they would have lost their home. As a result, the Sea Walrus King directly expressed his recognition of Tang San as the Divine Lord, acknowledging his position as the sea god. Being able to cleanse the sea plague was of utmost importance to the entire sea clans. Afterward, more and more sea beasts began to arrive. These beasts varied in strength, and Tang San observed that while there were many powerful beings among the sea clans, the number of top-tier experts was relatively low. Over the past week, dozens of sea kings had arrived, but the only great sea king was the sea walrus king. In complete contrast, the number of sea beasts equivalent to the 9th tier on the demon continent was numbering in the thousands, and these were just those that had come here to see Tang San. Who knew how many there were in total? As more of them arrived, Tang San found that the power of faith he could absorb was growing by the minute, making the creation of the sea god array discs much easier. He wasn't lacking in methods to control his divine consciousness, but he had previously refrained from using them freely, as the conversion of spiritual power into divine consciousness was far too slow. But the power of faith was different. It was inherently meant for deities. Converting it into his own divine consciousness was much easier, especially since he was the sea god and this faith was directed at him, or at least at his divine seat. On the 8th day, the sea shark king returned, bringing with him a nautical chart made of sharkskin that covered an area 2,000 nautical miles in diameter. Every island in the area was marked on the chart, including several large islands that were even bigger than Crescent Island. Tang San immediately gave the Sea Shark King 5 sea god array discs as a token of gratitude. He was fully aware of how valuable this sea chart was. In the vastness of the endless blue sea, where the sea beasts roamed freely, creating such a nautical chart through direct exploration was a titanic task. Who knew how many years it would have taken humans to develop one? Only a clan like the Sea Sharks, known for their speed and their vast territorial range, could have provided such a nautical chart in such a short time. Hammer, the Sea Shark King, explained that this map had been compiled by several powerful members of the Sea Shark clan a long time back, as familiarity with the sea was crucial for their hunting trips. Tang San carefully stored the nautical chart away. Once he returned, he could use it to discuss human migration plans with Mei Gongzi and the Redemption Society. Following the Sea Shark King's arrival, the leader of the Sea Leopard clan also appeared. It was a top-tier sea king. While the Sea Leopard clan was friendly with the Sea Walrus clan, they were antagonistic toward the Sea Shark clan. Thankfully, under the larger context of dealing with the Sea Plague, a direct conflict was unlikely. A messenger from the Sea Giant clan also arrived, the same sea giant that Tang San had met before. The messenger brought news that the Sea Giant King would come in person, but due to the distance of their settlement, it would take some time. The Sea Giant clan, known as the Pillars of the Sea, had 5 leaders, each overseeing different regions and each a great sea king. The one coming this time was the strongest of them all, known as the Middle Pillar King. The next arriving ruler was a female, and even in her original form, she bore a striking resemblance to a human woman, the Mermaid Queen. The similarity of course stopped at the waist. She had a human's upper body and a fish's lower body, with a total length of about 4 meters. Among all the sea beasts Tang San had encountered, she seemed to have the strongest affinity for the water element, and she was a top great sea king. There was no doubt that his cleansing of the sea plague had stirred the entire endless blue sea. By the 15th day, over 10,000 powerful sea creatures had gathered near Crescent Island, with more than 100 sea kings and some great sea kings. The area was filled with a tremendous surge of energy, with powerful sea creatures occasionally emerging from the sea and soaring into the sky. The largest of them, the Sea Whale King, floated like a small island at a distance, its body stretching over 200 meters. It was undoubtedly one of the most colossal beings in the sea, if not the biggest. But curiously, the sea whale lineage was not particularly powerful within the endless blue sea, and even the Sea Whale King was only a sea king level. Tang San's speed in creating the sea god array discs had never been higher, and most of his time was now actually spent suppressing his own cultivation. Even if he didn't actively absorb it, the presence of so many powerful sea creatures naturally caused the power of faith to continuously gather around him, imbuing him and naturally transforming into divine consciousness. As a result, Tang San had to periodically return to Golden Valley to craft more array discs, depleting some of his divine consciousness before coming back. Finally, in the distance, 2 massive auras surged into the sky, causing the entire stretch of endless blue sea around the island to stir. Tang San, who had been sitting cross-legged on the beach, opened his eyes and looked toward the distance. 2 massive water pillars shot up into the sky, each reaching a height of 1,000 meters. Atop one of the water pillars stood a giant over 100 meters tall, holding what looked like a trident, his entire body covered in deep blue patterns that radiated immense power. This was clearly a top-level great sea king. Beside him, another figure moved swiftly within the second water pillar, its body covered in deep blue scales. It had 5 clawed limbs but no wings. The powerful aura it emitted surpassed even that of the Mermaid Queen, and it showed an even greater affinity with the water element. This figure also possessed the aura of a peak great sea king. Without a doubt, the two beings who had arrived were the true pinnacle of the Sea Clan's strength, the Sea Dragon King and the Middle Pillar King of the Sea Giants. Tang San slowly stood up, watching the two top-tier powerhouses approach from the shore. The sea beasts in the water parted, creating a path to show their respect for the two great figures. The massive figures gradually shrank, and the water pillars lowered as the Middle Pillar King and the Sea Dragon King both transformed into more manageable human forms. Riding the waves, they approached the shore, hovering above the sea. Their clansmen, who had arrived earlier, all bowed in reverence. The gazes of the Sea Dragon King and the Middle Pillar King simultaneously turned towards Tang San. Faced with numerous powerful beings, including 7 or 8 great sea kings and over 100 sea kings, Tang San remained calm and composed, seemingly unfazed by the immense pressure. "Are you the so-called divine envoy?" The Sea Dragon King's deep and somewhat aged voice echoed across Crescent Island, clearly heard by all. At this moment, the humans who had been busy with their work stopped and gazed toward the scene from a distance. Tang San replied calmly, "I am the Sea God's successor, Tang San. Greetings to the Sea Kings." At this moment, an angry voice rang out. "What do you mean, envoy? Old dragon, have you gone senile? This is the true incarnation of the Sea God, a god among gods." It was Hammer, the Sea Shark King, who was looking indignant as he glared at the Sea Dragon King. The Sea Dragon King frowned slightly. He knew the Sea Shark King all too well. Hammer was not one to act just because of minor things like faith or morality, so if he defended the human, there had to be a very good reason for it. "Step aside, this is not your place to speak," the Middle Pillar King coldly rebuked him from. Seeing the Middle Pillar King, the Sea Shark King couldn't help but feel a bit intimidated, but still retorted with a touch of bravado, "What I said is true. Other than the Sea God, who else could cleanse the sea plague? Can you do it?" The Sea Shark clan had only one great sea king, Hammer, and he had only recently ascended to that level. In contrast, the Sea Giant clan boasted 5 great sea kings, with only the Sea Dragon clan able to rival them. The Sea Giants were not only physically powerful, but also had great control over the sea. It was said that in ancient times, the Sea Giants had produced an actual emperor, someone who ruled over the endless blue sea as the true sea emperor, with the sea dragons serving as their mounts. Of course, by this point, it was nothing more than a legend. The Middle Pillar King said calmly, "Whether he is truly the sea god, we will determine ourselves. All sea beasts except the kings of their respective clans, please withdraw." As these words were spoken, the sea beasts instinctively turned their gazes toward Tang San, who stood on the sandy shore. Tang San did not say anything. He merely met the gaze of the Middle Pillar King with a calm and steady expression. The Sea Clan powerhouses began to retreat gradually. There was no doubt that the Middle Pillar King held significant influence within the endless blue sea. In the end, only the kings of the various clans remained by the shore, and even among them, only the leaders of the major clans dared to stay. They were the Middle Pillar King, the Sea Dragon King, the Sea Shark King, the Mermaid Queen, the Sea Leopard King, the Massive Sea Whale King, the Sea Walrus King, and over 20 other leaders of the larger sea clans. The other sea creatures, even those who were sea kings themselves, had already retreated to a distance. The Middle Pillar King turned his gaze to Tang San. "Human, I have heard that you can cleanse the sea plague using the power of the sea god. Is this true?" "That's correct," Tang San replied calmly. The Middle Pillar King said, "Very well, show us the sea god's power so we can see it." Tang San showed no emotion in particular in response to the Middle Pillar King's aggressive demeanor. The golden trident symbol on his forehead suddenly lit up, and golden light began to radiate. Tang San's eyes also glowed, turning golden, and at that moment the nearby sea, especially the water around the various sea clan leaders, was tinged with gold. The power of faith from the sea surged toward Tang San almost instantly, converging in his direction, but it was blocked by that golden light. He genuinely couldn't absorb any more. If he did, he would have to face a tribulation immediately. The Middle Pillar King and the Sea Dragon King exchanged a glance, their eyes showing surprise. Despite their peak strength among the sea clans, they couldn't help but feel a compulsion to worship when they sensed the aura Tang San emitted. It was undeniably something qualitatively different from their own power, and given their level, this could only mean one thing. The bearer of such power indeed had the right to be called Sea God. "If you are the Sea God, why are you so weak?" the Sea Dragon King asked gravely. As a top-tier Great Sea King, the Sea Dragon King was affected by Tang San's Sea God aura, but not overwhelmingly so. Tang San replied, "Whether I am the Sea God or whether you acknowledge me as such is not important. What matters is my affinity with the endless blue sea. I have a solution for the sea plague, and I called you here not to seek your recognition of my status as the Sea God, but to offer you a way to combat the sea plague. The sea plague has always been the greatest issue in the endless blue sea, hasn't it? Hearing that Tang San wasn't focusing on his status as the sea god but instead on the sea plague, the Sea Dragon King's expression softened slightly. In his human form, he appeared as an elderly man. If you say so, then we are pleased to listen. How do you propose to solve the issue of the sea plague? I had a hypothesis and I've already tested it. As I'm sure you were told before coming here, the sea plague is caused by the power of misfortune appearing in the endless blue sea in large clusters. By using my divine consciousness to gather the strength of the sea beasts, I can create a force able to dispel the misfortune. I cannot be everywhere at all times, so I have crafted array discs that can store my divine consciousness. My consciousness will remain present as long as these discs are in the sea. If an outburst of sea plague arises, any sea king can use the discs to harness the collective strength of the sea creatures and cleanse the sea. As he spoke, Tang San waved his hand, and several sea god array discs shot toward the sea clan leaders. They each caught an array disc and used their divine consciousness to observe it. Sure enough, when they activated the discs with their divine consciousness, a faint golden glow naturally emanated from them. To their shock, they could directly sense the energy of distant sea creatures releasing and converging toward them, causing the sea's surface to once again shimmer with golden light. The expression of the Middle Pillar King softened. As a top-tier Great Sea King, he could clearly feel that the array disc contained the purest form of divine consciousness, nothing more. This divine consciousness bore perfect resemblance to the aura that Tang San had shown them, something they had never encountered in their long history of ruling the endless blue sea. A flash of excitement passed through the Sea Dragon King's eyes. They all understood how crucial it would be for the endless blue sea if these array discs could indeed neutralize the sea plague. For many years, the tainted Yellow Sea and the Nether Blue Sea had been expanding, fueled by the countless sea creatures that the sea plague had claimed. If this continued, it was only a matter of time before the endless blue sea would be consumed by these cursed waters. Although these two seas were not yet that vast in size relative to the entire endless blue sea, their expansion had never ceased. The sea clans had attempted to purge these areas, but to no avail. They could deal with the corpses within, but as long as life perished in the endless blue sea, these cursed regions would continue to grow. Even worse, the more they grew, the more their effects intensified, including corpses being reanimated. This had long been a dire threat to every single sea clan present. At this moment, the array discs Tang San offered seemed to be the solution to this grave problem. If the sea plague no longer posed a threat, then the endless blue sea could finally develop peacefully. The Sea Giant King asked, "Do you have any requests in exchange, Divine Envoy?" Tang San glanced at the piles of rare metals stacked on the shore, brought over by the Sea Shark clan, and said, "My request is simple. I am human. The demon and nymph clans of the demon continent have long enslaved my people. I hope that you will allow my people to migrate to the islands in the sea where they can survive. Humans can only live on land, not in the sea, so they won't affect the endless blue sea itself." The clan leaders here were already aware of this. Although humans numbered in the tens of millions, those numbers were insignificant compared to the vast number of marine creatures. Moreover, the sea clans had little need for resources on the islands. The land of the islands was unsuitable for most anyway. Even a powerful being like the Sea Dragon King lost power if he was on land, and that in itself was a limitation for the sea beasts. "Is there anything else? Do you want us to protect humans from harm?" the Sea Dragon King asked. Tang San nodded. "That would naturally be the best." The Sea Dragon King said gravely, "Compared to solving the sea plague, your requests are trivial. We could even command our clansmen to assist in the human migration. There's another matter we would like to discuss. You say that the sea plague was caused by something that you called power of misfortune. What do you mean by that?" Tang San pondered for a moment before responding. "Don't you find it strange that the endless blue sea occupies most of the planet Phelan, yet despite its vast resources and numerous living beings, it doesn't have a single emperor? Meanwhile, on the demon continent, demons and nymphs have over a dozen emperors at any given time." The expressions of the Sea Dragon King and the Middle Pillar King immediately turned serious. Indeed, the strongest beings in the endless blue sea were right here, yet there was no emperor among them. This was one of the greatest mysteries for the sea clans. Why couldn't they produce an emperor in such a resource-rich sea? "Is it related to this misfortune you're talking about?" the Middle Pillar King asked. Tang San nodded. "Yes. In any plane there is such a thing as fortune. It's not just a concept. It's an actual energy and a law of nature. A planet has its fortune, and wherever that fortune is concentrated, that place will experience better development. Normally, fortune is distributed randomly. No person, clan, or race can always be blessed with good luck, nor can they be perpetually cursed with misfortune. But when someone deliberately manipulates fortune, everything changes. The demon continent has always been favored with immense fortune and resources. Their development was explosive, and they kept producing emperors while you did not. Why is that? It's because they have concentrated the fortune of the entire planet Phelan onto the demon continent. But as I said, this is a law of nature, and nature seeks balance. To balance this fortune, misfortune has appeared, and because it's being kept away from the demon continent, it can only spread to other parts of the planet. You mentioned the tainted Yellow Sea and the Nether Blue Sea. They formed precisely because of this phenomenon. Hearing Tang San's words, the Sea Clan leaders couldn't help but look at each other in confusion, most of them showing puzzled expressions. The Sea Walrus King asked in a deep voice, "Fortune is intangible and elusive. How could it possibly be gathered?" It's intangible as far as you are concerned, but that does not mean it's intangible to everyone. On the demon continent, there is a demon clan that specializes in manipulating fortune. I don't know how many millennia they've spent gathering luck at the center of the demon continent, concentrating the planet's fortune there and repelling misfortune, but the consequences are plain to see. They are the Celestial Fox Clan. The leader of the Celestial Fox Clan is a deceptive one. He doesn't seem powerful by any standards, but he is in fact a demon emperor, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. He is known as the Master of Destiny, and he has dominion over this planet's fortune. Have you heard of him? The many Sea Clan leaders shook their heads in unison. The endless blue sea and the demon continent had no relationship to speak of. Neither environment was suitable for the other party, so they simply didn't interfere with each other. Thus, they knew that there were emperors on the demon continent, but they truly had no idea how many and what kind of emperors they were. Tang San continued. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperors thus far have led the Celestial Fox Clan to gather the fortune of the continent. Only the demon and nymph clans can benefit from this fortune, which is why they have grown increasingly powerful, becoming the strongest beings on the entire planet. From what I know, there are currently as many as 16 emperors between demons and nymphs, but a single planet can only accommodate a limited number of emperors, and even though Phelan Planet is so bountiful, 16 is nearly the limit. Now tell me, besides the emperors on the demon continent, have you heard of any other emperors in the past 1,000 years? How about the past 10,000 years? The Sea Clan leaders all shook their heads again. Tang San narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "No, of course there aren't any. So, given that they are already so powerful, why aren't they ruling the entire planet? With the power of more than a dozen emperors, they could easily conquer the endless blue sea. They may not be able to live here, but the resources in the sea are absolutely massive and it's not like they have too many resources. So why haven't they done so? Have you ever thought about it?" Tang San's series of questions left all the Sea Clan leaders present dumbfounded. Tang San answered his own question. The reason is simple, because all the fortune has already been gathered. Outside the demon continent, there is only misfortune, and they don't want to be tainted by it. They view the areas outside the demon continent as merely providing nourishment for the continent, so they couldn't care less about what happens to them. But what they are doing is a calamity for the entire Phelan planet. The planet has the ability to self-regulate, but that ability has been stripped from it. Misfortune and fortune are relative to each other. The more fortune is gathered, the more misfortune also accumulates. When fortune eventually reaches its peak, it's not impossible that a divine realm could be born on the demon continent, a kind of superior plane, where even beings surpassing emperors could appear. But the moment that happens will also be the moment when Phelan Planet collapses. The demon continent, or at least the ancestral court where all the fortune is gathered, is likely to survive, maybe separate from Phelan Planet. Meanwhile, the other regions where misfortune has accumulated will face catastrophic destruction. For Phelan Planet as a whole, this will be devastating. As soon as Tang San said these words, the gathered Sea Clan leaders couldn't help but be in an uproar. Tang San looked up at the sky. When he spoke these words, he released a bit of his divine consciousness outward. As his divine consciousness spread, he could vaguely sense a tendency for a thunder tribulation to form in the sky. However, when he finished speaking, the impending feeling of a thunder tribulation in the air abruptly dissipated. Tang San's expression grew solemn as he looked at the Sea Clan leaders. "So, do you still think your current life is normal? The arrival of the Sea Plague is the result of misfortune descending. I can help you alleviate the Sea Plague, but in truth it's only treating the symptoms, not the root cause." Silence! A sharp shout suddenly interrupted Tang San's words. The Middle Pillar King glared at Tang San with hostility and said, "The purpose of your words, is it to incite us to launch an attack on the land, to challenge the demon continent?" To rush headlong to our deaths knowing there are more than a dozen emperors there? Is that your true intention? Upon hearing these words, the expressions of the Sea clan leaders changed instantly, and their gazes focused intently on Tang San. Tang San's face turned cold after being interrupted, and he shook his head. Did I ever say something like that? I don't think so. I never expected you to accomplish such things because you can't. That is my mission, my own mission. I've already made my request clear. I will ask you to protect my people, and that will be enough. What I am doing now is simply telling you the true state of affairs. When I fully restore my strength, I will have the power to change the entire balance of Phelan planet. Your strength holds little significance to me. The middle pillar king of the sea giants gazed at him with a sinister look. You're not even a god, yet you dare claim you can challenge 16 emperors? What do you mean by restoring your strength? Tang San responded calmly. I mean becoming the sea god. Becoming the sea god? A glint of light flashed in the middle pillar king's eyes. So you truly believe you are the heir of the sea god? If I am not, then what am I? Tang San looked at him with unwavering confidence. The sea giant laughed and was about to say something when the sea dragon king beside him stopped him. Thank you for your guidance. Once we return, we will immediately mobilize our people to purify the existing sea plague. As for the human migration you mentioned, our sea clans can guarantee their protection. Tang San nodded slightly and said, that will be enough. As for what the future holds, please wait and see. But I can tell you this. The demon continent has been blessed with fortune for who knows how many centuries and millennia. That fortune has already taken deep root, and even if I can destroy that cluster of fortune in the future, the planet won't regain its balance in a short time. If you want to contend with it, or rather obtain more of the planet's resources, you'll have to rely on yourselves. Simply maintaining the status quo won't be enough. The middle pillar king responded calmly. We don't even know if this fortune and misfortune you're talking about is real, so there's no point in discussing it now. We will wait and see what this sea god you speak of truly is. Tang San's gaze turned toward him. He could sense the hostility of this sea giant king, and had a good idea of where it stemmed from. You are correct. There's no way for you to confirm the part about fortune and misfortune. But there's no need to wait. I can prove it to you right now. Tang San took a step forward and stood on the surface of the sea, facing two top-tier demon kings without a trace of fear. In his eyes, black and white interchanged as the polar luck domain was activated. Immediately, the two great sea kings within the domain felt a jolt in their hearts. Tang San closed his eyes and silently expanded the range of the polar domain. Instantly, the seawater beneath him became clearer than it had ever been, while a faint murky purple color began to form in the outer ring. The sea plague! The sea leopard king exclaimed in shock. In the next moment, Tang San opened his eyes, deactivating the domain. A golden light radiated from his body, and as his divine consciousness swept through, the gathered power of faith in the seawater purified the murkiness that had just appeared. With the enhancement of his cultivation and divine consciousness, it was now much easier for him to utilize the polar luck domain. Sensing the recent changes, the breathing of the sea clan leaders around him grew heavier. They realized that what Tang San had said about the demon continent gathering fortune was likely true. I believe you, a clear voice rang out. Tang San turned his head to look and saw that it was the mermaid queen who had spoken. She had not said a word until now, but her voice turned out to be exceptionally melodious. Her long water blue hair flowed behind her, and her captivating eyes rested on Tang San. I believe in your sea god legacy. Within your divine consciousness, I sense an aura that compels my faith. But there is also a hint that your origin is not of the endless blue sea. If I'm not mistaken, you don't belong to our world, do you? Just now, I felt a sense of rejection toward you. Not from the sea, but from the planet itself. That can only mean one thing. What formidable divine consciousness! Tang San looked at the mermaid queen with some surprise. Her aura wasn't as strong as that of the middle pillar king or the sea dragon king, but her divine consciousness was unquestionably at the absolute pinnacle of a great sea king. Can you tell me why you have come to our world? What is your goal? As she spoke, the mermaid queen quietly moved behind Tang San. At this moment, Tang San was faced with the sea giant king and the sea dragon king in front of him, and the mermaid queen behind. These three sea clan leaders were the strongest of the entire endless blue sea, and they had suddenly surrounded Tang San. The middle pillar king spoke in a deep voice. In the endless blue sea, there has never been even a legend of the sea god, so how could there be a legacy of one? You're nothing but an outsider who wants to stir up chaos. How do we know that everything you're doing isn't just making all the sea beasts toil for your benefit? Your power is too strange. It can attract the faith of the sea beasts. You said it yourself. If you become stronger, we will be unable to stop you. How can we be sure you won't enslave the sea clans? Tang San floated there, showing no signs of panic despite being surrounded by the three powerful beings. I've always had good intentions, he said calmly. Admit it. You just want to capture me and study my abilities, don't you? This was your plan all along. The Sea Dragon King responded in a serious tone. We have to be cautious. We can't be certain whether you are the harbinger of an invasion from the demon continent. But don't worry, we won't harm humans, especially since the array discs you provided can indeed clear the sea plague. We will always treat you as an honored guest and won't harm you in any way. We just hope to learn more about you. Tang San smiled. Oh please, learn more about me? That's nothing more than an excuse, and let me tell you, it's not going to happen. I suspected before you even got here that you might act against me out of suspicion, yet here I am all alone in front of you. Do you think I am that stupid? Are you all crazy? The Sea Shark King finally reacted, exclaiming in shock. He's the sea god. Silence, snapped the Middle Pillar King. How can the fate of the sea clans be influenced by an outsider? If he harbors ill intentions, wouldn't that bring disaster to the entire endless blue sea? Tang San's gaze remained calm. He gently shook his head and said, You don't believe me because you don't understand what a true god is. Even on the demon continent, no true god will be born because this world, this plane, isn't a divine realm, nor is it connected to one. Without a divine realm, there's no path to ascension. The Sea Dragon King frowned and said, There's no rush. Please, divine envoy, come with us to my Sea Dragon Palace, and we can talk slowly. Rest assured we won't harm you. We will also fulfill our promise to help your human migration. Tang San replied indifferently, I have many things to do and no time to go to any Sea Dragon Palace with you, but that's all right. If you wish to die, if you want to see the entire elite of the sea clans die here, then go ahead. By all means try to stop me. As he spoke, the golden trident pattern suddenly lit up on his forehead. The Middle Pillar King reacted instantly and shouted in a low voice, Seal him! A beam of light shot out from the trident in his hand and enveloped Tang San. Tang San neither dodged nor blocked it, simply allowing the light to trap him within. Yet, the golden pattern of the sea god's trident on his forehead grew even brighter. His body had been sealed by the Sea Giant King and could not move, but at that moment, vast swathes of the endless blue sea instantly turned golden. Thousands of streams of faith power surged toward Tang San, unaffected by the sealing barrier, continuing to pour into his body. An unparalleled majesty suddenly erupted from his entire being, and in that instant, the sky above this entire sea region suddenly turned pitch black. A terrifying world-ending pressure almost instantly pressed the sea's surface down by 10 meters, revealing the forms of the sea kings that had been waiting in the distance for the conversation to conclude. For a moment, even these powerful sea kings present felt as if they couldn't breathe, while the brilliant golden light surrounding Tang San only grew brighter. This is a lightning tribulation? In the ink-black sky, streaks of golden lightning crisscrossed, each terrifying bolt seeming as if it could obliterate the entire world. The sea wasn't even stirring, it was trembling in fear. The sea kings could barely move, while those below the ninth order were completely suppressed beneath the surface, unable to even run. Tang San slowly turned around and looked at the mermaid queen behind him. You sensed correctly. I am indeed rejected by this plane because I come from another world. The reason I came here was to find my reincarnated wife. But I am a human and I cannot stand by and watch humans being treated as slaves by the demon and nymph clans. So while searching for my wife, I also want to help humanity find a path to rise. Moreover, I was once the sea god, and my love for the sea brought me here to help you. But you refuse to acknowledge me and you treat me as nothing more than a tool. Fine then, let me show you the wrath of the heaven that belongs to this world. Boom! A sky-shattering golden thunderbolt exploded in the sky. Kill him and maybe we can still... The Middle Pillar King shouted, raising his trident to strike at Tang San. But he hadn't even moved halfway when his arm was locked in place. What stopped him was neither Tang San, nor the terrifying lightning tribulation in the sky, but the countless streams of faith power rushing toward Tang San. At that moment, Tang San's figure began to swell with the wind, and a massive golden silhouette appeared behind him, slowly expanding. The aura of the sea god was released without reservation. Lord Sea God, don't. The first to react was the Sea Walrus King. It suddenly prostrated itself, bowing to Tang San. Following closely, the Sea Shark King also transformed into human form and immediately knelt before Tang San. But at that very moment, a sky-shattering thunderbolt roared down from the sky, and in an instant the entire world seemed to turn golden. As that golden thunderbolt descended with overwhelming force, every Sea King present felt as though the entire world was about to be destroyed. Just then, the golden trident on Tang San's forehead suddenly became incredibly dazzling, and the sea god array discs that each Sea King had received earlier lit up simultaneously. The previously suppressed, waveless sea suddenly surged with a layer of bluish glow. That glow rose upward, enveloping all the sea beasts present, as well as Tang San. The massive sea god silhouette behind Tang San seemed to lift that glow as if it was a shield, merging seamlessly with the blue radiance. At that moment, each sea beast had the strange sensation that it was connected to every other sea beast. They felt like a unified whole, seamlessly merged with the endless blue sea itself. When the terrifying golden thunderbolt struck the bluish glow, a strange scene unfolded. The fearsome golden lightning hesitated, wavering slightly, and in the next moment, it shattered into countless tiny golden sparks that scattered and flickered across the blue radiance. The Sea Dragon King and the Middle Pillar King both saw the golden trident symbol on Tang San's forehead undergo some strange changes. The most significant change was that a small blue light appeared at the center of the trident's middle prong. It looked like a tiny blue gemstone, but from this single point of blue, the vast blue radiance enveloping the entire endless blue sea expanded outward. At this moment, they all felt as if they had become connected to Tang San. Without a doubt, compared to them, Tang San's aura was weak, yet it was this weak aura that formed a bond, a link that connected all the sea beasts present and the endless blue sea itself. All the power at this moment was united under his guidance, making the entire endless blue sea feel like a single entity, a true whole. Even the terrifying thunder in the sky found no gap to penetrate. Tang San's calm voice reached the ears of every sea beast below. As the sea god, I bring peace and development. What lies above me is the tribulation I must face during my ascension. If I were to undergo this tribulation over the endless blue sea, my chances of success would increase significantly because I could amplify my power with the faith of countless beings in the endless blue sea. However, I am unwilling to do so, as it would inevitably result in more deaths than you can count. As the sea god, it is my duty to protect my people. Therefore, I was unwilling to undergo my tribulation over the endless blue sea. Do you understand? At this moment, Tang San's forehead radiated with golden light, and with that touch of blue glow, it made him appear as if a true deity had descended. Within that vast blue radiance, every sea beast could clearly feel the boundlessness of the sea, and before them stood the master of this infinity. The Sea Walrus King had already bowed down earlier, and so had the Sea Leopard King. Now, under his words one by one, the king slowly bowed down, facing Tang San. Each of them could sense the terrifying scene of the lightning tribulation descending from the sky. A hint of complexity flickered in Tang San's eyes. He was not one to speak lightly. When he summoned the leaders of the sea clans today, he had made two preparations. It would be ideal if the sea clans could all support him, but if a situation arose with over 100 god-level beings gathered, including several great sea kings, he could forcibly borrow their power when the lightning tribulation descended, turning them into part of the defense against the tribulation to help him cross it. Yes, this was one of the possible methods he had for crossing the tribulation, and in fact the best one in a sense. It gave him almost perfect certainty to succeed. For Tang San himself, if he could successfully cross the tribulation early, it would undoubtedly be a tremendous help. The endless blue sea was vast and had a nigh infinite number of lives. Once he reached godhood, he could rely on the immense faith power of the sea to enhance himself. When heading to the ancestral court, his foundation would be many times deeper. But if he used this method, then of the many sea beasts present, fewer than 1 in 10 would survive. How long it would take for the sea clans to recover after such a massive loss was anybody's guess. And in the end he couldn't do it. In the end his heart softened. In the end, even when forced by the combined pressure of the Sea Dragon King, the Middle Pillar King, and the Mermaid Queen, he triggered the lightning tribulation to resolve the crisis but ultimately did not let it fully descend. At this very moment high in the sky, the oppression of the lightning tribulation was still fierce, but under cover of that blue halo, everyone below was completely safe. Thanks to this shield, the sea beasts present gradually regained their ability to move. However, the force that had just descended upon them like a natural disaster left them all feeling short of breath. How could they not understand? If that lightning tribulation had been allowed to descend, everything present would have been obliterated. We were selfish, the Mermaid Queen said, lowering her head in shame, then slowly bowing to Tang San. The Sea Dragon King looked at the Middle Pillar King. At this moment, the Middle Pillar King raised his head, staring blankly at the terrifying lightning tribulation in the sky. Yes, this is what a true god's tribulation should be. This is it. My clan in the end is not With that, he sighed deeply, said nothing more, and placed one knee on the surface of the sea, bowing toward Tang San. The Sea Dragon King watched as numerous Sea Kings bowed to Tang San. He then looked at Tang San and slowly bowed as well. The countless clans of the endless blue sea are willing to follow you from now on, divine envoy. Tang San's voice reached the ears of every sea beast present. I never intended to enslave you, nor do I wish to take what you have. The sea god exists to lead and help the creatures of the sea, not to take from them. Let everything begin with the eradication of the sea plague. I believe that in the future, you will understand my intentions. The blue halo was still in the air. This was one of Tang San's trump cards. How would he be so foolish as to face so many sea beast powerhouses alone without preparation? As the former supreme god king of a major divine realm, he had more experience with such situations than this entire planet combined. A faint smile appeared on Tang San's face. Even though he had used force to suppress them, at least his goal had been achieved. How the sea clans would choose to proceed in the future was their business. He could certainly sense that getting them to truly submit to him would be difficult, but he didn't need that. He only needed the sea beasts to coexist peacefully with humanity. Once he achieved godhood in the future, with the existence of the sea god's divine seat, what could threaten him in this endless blue sea? In fact, the sea clan leaders present didn't realize what they had missed. By attempting to imprison Tang San under the leadership of the three great sea kings, they had missed the best opportunity of their lives. Although Tang San didn't borrow their power to cross the tribulation, he would not help them become the rulers of this plane in the future either. This was partly to ensure humanity's rise, which involved not having more. The tribulation clouds in the sky gradually dispersed, but the entire process took a full half-hour. Throughout this time, the blue radiance released by Tang San remained present. Through continuous enhancement of his divine consciousness, crafting divine consciousness array discs, and cultivating on the endless blue sea, Tang San had forged an even closer connection with his transcendent divine weapon, the Sea God's Trident. This blue radiance was one of the abilities of the Sea God's Trident, and as the divine weapon approached, Tang San could borrow more of its power. This ability was the vast sea cosmic shroud. Tang San used the endless blue sea, with the vast sea cosmic shroud at its core, as a conduit to borrow the power of the many powerhouses present. This greatly amplified the vast sea cosmic shroud, isolating all auras and making it impossible for the tribulation to find him. However, this move could only be used on the endless blue sea. Without the power of the sea, the effectiveness of the vast sea cosmic shroud was limited. After all, the Sea God's Trident wasn't by Tang San's side. Even when the tribulation clouds completely dissipated, Tang San only slowly retracted the range of the vast sea cosmic shroud, keeping it around himself. The aura he had previously released now had to be gradually restrained. Only by completely leaving this area could he avoid the tribulation from finding him again. Returning to Crescent Island under the cover of the blue radiance, Tang San looked at the Sea Clan leaders, each with a complex expression on their face. I will now need to trouble you all to help with the migration of my human race. To prevent the tribulation from returning, I must enter seclusion and seal my aura. Also, please handle the sea plague as soon as possible. I have crafted plenty of sea god array discs, so I will trust you with the distribution. As he spoke, he tossed out more sea god array discs, giving them to all the sea kings present. The reason he hadn't distributed them earlier was that he needed them to help trigger the vast sea cosmic shroud. Tang San's own capacity for divine consciousness was currently limited, but these array discs each stored a portion of his divine consciousness. By releasing and triggering this consciousness, Tang San could control more of his own divine consciousness, thereby unleashing even greater power. Thank you, Divine Envoy. At this moment, the clan leaders had no choice but to accept, as there was no other option. After all, no one wanted to die. Moreover, Tang San could help them solve the sea plague, and that was more than they could have ever expected from anyone. The Sea Shark King stood toward the back, a look of disdain on his face as he thought to himself, where was all this groveling before? Good thing I saw it coming. Clinging to his thigh was the right move. Once he breaks through to godhood, even the strongest great sea kings won't be able to match him. In this endless blue sea, he will be the true ruler. And under the cover of the vast sea cosmic shroud, Tang San stepped into the teleportation array. No one dared to obstruct him anymore. A ball of 7 colored flames rose, and within the flames, a twisted halo silently emerged, instantly lighting up the entire teleportation array. The Sea Kings vaguely saw that within the 7 colored flames on Tang San's palm, a strange twisted halo was being released. It appeared to be a crystalline orb emitting strange light, and its energy waves were incredibly mysterious. There seemed to be fluctuations of space as well as changes in time. In the next instant, Tang San vanished into thin air. As his figure disappeared, the last trace of the extremely violent lightning tribulation in the sky above also dissipated. 1. This term is used to refer to both the gem embedded in the sea god's trident and the barrier ability it has. The sea beasts left behind glanced at each other, all revealing expressions of lingering fear. Only those who had truly faced the lightning tribulation just now could fully understand the terrifying energy contained within it. Looking down at the sea god array disc in her hand, the mermaid queen couldn't help but sigh. We made a grave mistake just now, didn't we? The sea dragon king frowned tightly and asked, Is there any way to make amends? The middle pillar king remained silent. In fact, he was the one who had come up with the idea to pressure Tang San, and he indeed had selfish motives. In his view, if a sea god were to emerge from the endless blue sea, they should be born from the sea giant clan, not from another race. What he hadn't expected was that this human, who wasn't even at the 10th order yet, could display such wonders in the endless blue sea, especially that extremely terrifying lightning tribulation. They all understood perfectly well that a tribulation of this magnitude was incredibly difficult to overcome, but once he succeeded, what level would this human reach? The Sea Shark King remained silent. He secretly mocked them in his heart, but he knew that if he spoke up now, he might very well become the target of everyone's anger. The Mermaid Queen sighed. Let's start by doing what he said. First, try to resolve the sea plague. At the same time, we should assist him in relocating the humans as much as possible. It will likely take time to regain his favor. I suggest we issue a joint decree. Any humans on the endless blue sea shall be protected by all sea clans, and no sea beast may harm them. When humans need help, it must be provided. The Sea Dragon King nodded, then turned to look at the Middle Pillar King. The latter also nodded. Agreed. The Sea Dragon King made the final decision. So be it. Purifying the sea plague is the top priority. If the sea plague can be successfully purified, our Sea Dragon clan will acknowledge this sea god. At this moment, the sea god they spoke of had already returned to Golden Valley. Sensing that the tribulation had no further pull on him, Tang San dispersed the vast sea cosmic shroud and put away the space-time beacon. He let out a long breath as well. Although he had confidence in the usefulness of the vast sea cosmic shroud, the pressure he had endured when facing that terrifying tribulation was immense. Everything he had done today had multiple purposes, and one of these purposes was actually getting a first-hand experience of the power of the tribulation. The facts proved that the tribulation he was about to face was, as he had anticipated, the worst possible outcome. It was the most terrifying of all tribulations targeting those below godhood. Considering the power system of Phelan Planet, even an emperor couldn't withstand it. Indeed, the tribulation he faced was something that even an emperor couldn't resist directly. This showed how deeply the plane was determined to destroy him. This tribulation was called the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Divine Extinguishing Tribulation. Simply put, the arrival of this lightning tribulation meant that the entire plane didn't want him to succeed in crossing it, and was determined to use the combined power of the 9 Heavens and 10 Earths to annihilate him. Just one bolt of lightning had descended, and Tang San had already deeply felt its terror. At this moment, within the space-time beacon, a thin, inch-long golden spark, resembling a fine needle, flashed and flickered. This was a trace of the tribulation's energy that Tang San had intercepted with all his might through the space-time beacon. Though it was only a sliver, it still contained immense terror. This was the entire plane's crushing force. How did it come to this? Tang San sighed. The rainbow skyfire liquid silently seeped into the space-time beacon, continuing to refine it, while also quietly sensing the fluctuations of this sliver of tribulation energy, as he entered a state of deep meditation. Time passed quickly after Tang San first ignited his tribulation over the sea. The sea clans soon issued orders to foster goodwill with humanity. There were no more sea beast disturbances along the coast, and the speed of human shipbuilding increased by the day. With the nautical chart Tang San had brought back, the sailors had much more confidence, and more new ships continuously transported humans out to sea. Regarding this, Mei Gongzi implemented strict information control. The construction of the human settlement continued, but it was merely improved, not expanded. It was like a bottomless pit. No matter how many people entered the settlement, it wasn't growing at all. Of course, this was because while the pace of immigration was accelerating, so was the pace of emigration to the islands. The time for Mei Gongzi to head to the ancestral court was also drawing closer. This would be the most important event for Kali City and the human population in the settlement. Mei Gongzi's cultivation advanced at a breakneck pace. After her tribulation, she had undergone a complete transformation. The complete integration of her two bloodlines, combined with Tang San's guidance, the vast resources of Kali City, and her regular trips to the ancestral court to cultivate inside the White Tiger Demon Emperor's amethystine room, led to rapid progress in both her divine consciousness and bloodline power. Mei Gongzi increasingly felt the benefits brought by the Golden Fiend tribulation. With the transformation it had brought her, her potential seemed almost limitless. Most people's cultivation would slow down once they became demon or nymph kings, but that was not the case with her. Within just a few short months, she had advanced to the mid-demon king stage. Moreover, as someone with the talent to become an emperor, and who possessed two first-tier bloodlines and the Azura sword as her core divine artifact, she had full confidence in her ability to battle against even those at the great demon king level. After the overseas migration settled into a routine, Mei Gongzi saw Tang San less frequently. Tang San was rarely in Golden Valley, and she didn't know what he was busy with. As for his cultivation, he had long since reached a bottleneck and he didn't seem to make any further progress. Besides Crescent Island, humans had begun to occupy two other large islands. Relocating 3 million people to these 3 islands by the end of the year was quite feasible, and that was the maximum number of people that Kali City could gather. After all, the humans coming here were mainly from within Kali City's original sphere of influence and nearby major cities, while human settlements spanned across the entire demon continent. Even so, the Redemption Society was incredibly excited about this. It was impossible to migrate all of humanity, but having several million people move overseas to thrive and grow in a peaceful environment was more than just a glimmer of hope. It was a true flame. As a result, the Redemption Society even proactively requested that Mei Gongzi lay low and be as discreet as possible to prepare for the upcoming report to the ancestral court. In Golden Valley, beneath the Golden Tree, a stone table was placed here, with 2 wooden stumps as chairs. On the stone table was a large pot filled with water from the lake. This water, purified over time by the life energy in Golden Valley, was crystal clear and carried a faint aura of life. The steam that rose as it boiled added a touch of the mundane, a hint of the everyday world. There was no fire beneath the pot. What kept it boiling was the intense heat of bloodline power. Surrounding the pot were plates of fresh ingredients, primarily seafood and vegetables. The vegetables, of course, were produced within Golden Valley itself. No other land could grow vegetables as fine as those nourished by the peak 9th Order Golden Tree. Thanks to the Goldenwood spirit essence that Tang San had merged into it, the Golden Tree had reached the peak of the 9th Order and was ready to break through at any moment. However, Tang San was in no hurry to let it break through. One reason was to allow the spirit essence to achieve perfect fusion with the Golden Tree and cultivate to the absolute highest degree possible before breaking through. The other reason was that he wanted to wait until he himself had broken through first. Once the Golden Tree broke through, the explosion of life energy would be something that the array he had set up here could not conceal. At that time, the Peacock Demon clan would surely sense it, and even the entire Kali Mountain range would be affected. The Golden Tree itself didn't possess much combat ability, at least not unless it became an emperor, but its life aura was incredibly powerful. Once its evolution was complete, it would reach another level, making it difficult to keep Golden Valley hidden. With the numerous challenges Tang San and Mei Gongzi were currently facing, it wasn't suitable for the Golden Tree to break through now. Everything needed to wait until Tang San successfully crossed his tribulation. Just like the vegetables, the seafood was the best and freshest available, just brought back by Tang San from the endless blue sea as a tribute from the Sea Clan. The translucent lobster meat was sliced into thin pieces, and the fresh golden clams had orange-yellow meat and golden shells. The large bamboo shrimp tails still wriggled, resembling rainbows. There were also massive long-legged crabs already cut into sections, and scored squid slices, all laid out in a dazzling array that made one's mouth water just by looking at them. Mei Gongzi gazed at the sumptuous spread of food on the table, momentarily dazed, then looked at Tang San across the table with a bit of surprise, a questioning look in her beautiful eyes. Tang San smiled and said, "Since you became the city lord, you've been constantly tense, busy with work and cultivation. The time for reporting to the ancestral court is approaching, and we've prepared almost everything we need. It's time to relax and enjoy a good meal. Today, don't think about anything. Just enjoy the food. I also bought some fine wine, a specialty fruit brew from Kali City, made from 8 types of fruit rich in life essence. It must be aged for 18 months in special barrels made of water pomelo wood, which only grows in the Kali Mountains, before it's ready to drink. Give it a try." As he spoke, Tang San took out an exquisite crystal decanter. Through it, the wine inside shone like ruby. He poured 2 glasses and immediately, the rich fruit aroma filled the air, making one's appetite grow. Mei Gongzi quietly watched Tang San pour the wine, her gaze gradually softening, and she softly said, "Thank you." "You're thanking me? Really?" Tang San chuckled. "You indeed carry a lot of responsibilities, but what I carry is you. Not only do I have to help you fulfill those responsibilities and accompany you as you grow, but I also need to take care of your everyday life." As he spoke, he picked up a wine glass and handed it to Mei Gongzi, taking the other for himself. They gently clinked their glasses together, the clear, resonant sound bringing a foreign yet delightful tone to the peaceful Golden Valley. "Come on, give it a try," Tang San said with a smile. Mei Gongzi took a sip, and her eyes immediately lit up. There was none of the expected alcohol taste, only a pure and refreshing fruit fragrance that filled her mouth. The subtle aroma even rose up to her nose, making it feel as though her entire body was exuding the sweet scent. Tang San brought the glass to his lips, about to take a sip, when Mei Gongzi's slender, fair hand suddenly covered the rim of the glass. Tang San was startled. "What's wrong?" Mei Gongzi looked at him with a half-smile and said, "Someone here seems to be underage. You're not yet an adult, so you can't drink alcohol. As your dear elder sister, how could I let you make such a rookie mistake?" Tang San was taken aback, only now remembering that in this world, he indeed wasn't yet 18. Seeing the playful glint in Mei Gongzi's eyes, Tang San couldn't help but feel both amused and helpless. He put down the wine glass and said, "My mental age spans 2 lifetimes, you know." Mei Gongzi laughed cheerfully. "That's just your side of the story. Go out and tell people. See who believes you're a reincarnated soul." Tang San couldn't help but laugh too. "I don't care if others believe it or not, as long as you do."
Mei Gongzi snorted softly.
"I don't believe it either. You need to behave, okay?" "All right," Tang San said, resigned as he set down the glass. Mei Gongzi promptly snatched his glass, poured the wine into her own, and took another sip. A faint blush appeared on her pretty face as she giggled. "It's really good." Tang San rolled his eyes, slightly exasperated.
Let us eat. Let us eat."
He picked up some vegetables and dipped them into the boiling pot as he spoke. "Why not start with the seafood? So fresh. Shouldn't it be the first thing we eat?" Mei Gongzi asked curiously while sipping her fruit wine. Tang San smiled and said, "Seafood inevitably contains some impurities. No matter how thoroughly it's cleaned, you can't remove all the impurities from the meat. When you cook it, the impurities are released into the broth, making it more flavorful, but the impurities still remain. If you cook the vegetables afterward, wouldn't they absorb all those impurities? On the other hand, vegetables are pure. When you cook them first, their rich life essence and fragrance infuse the broth, which actually enhances the flavor of the seafood when cooked later." Mei Gongzi was taken aback. "I always thought you only knew how to cultivate, but you're quite good at everyday life too, huh?" Tang San placed the freshly cooked vegetables on her plate and drizzled a bit of sauce over them, smiling as he said, "I used to have a friend known as the Food Godwin, and another called the Icefire Demon Chef. Both were extremely skilled at cooking, and they taught me a few things. If you like, I can cook for you whenever we have free time. We could try some grilled seafood next time. It's a different but equally delicious experience." "Sounds good," Mei Gongzi replied with a smile. As she ate the vegetables he prepared for her, she seemed to genuinely relax a little. Tang San continued to prepare various ingredients for her, placing them on her plate and adding the appropriate sauces. Occasionally, he would pick up a clean napkin to gently wipe the corners of her mouth. As Mei Gongzi felt his care, her gaze grew increasingly tender. "You should eat something too." As the meal went on, their eyes held only each other's reflections. By the end of it, she was sitting on his lap, seemingly a little tipsy from the fruit wine, gently leaning against his shoulder. Her beautiful face was tinged with a faint blush as she wrapped her arms around his neck, her fingers lightly tracing his chest. Tang San kept one hand around her waist while using the other to occasionally bring food to her lips. "I never knew you had such an appetite," Tang San chuckled softly. Mei Gongzi lightly tapped his shoulder in response. "Hey, are you calling me fat? You're awful." Tang San couldn't resist and kissed her cheek. Mei Gongzi lifted her gaze to meet his, her eyes filled with affection. His heart suddenly burned with heat, and he couldn't help but move closer to her lips. But in a flash of silver light, the beauty in his arms had already vanished. "You baddie, you were about to do something naughty." Mei Gongzi reappeared on the other side of the table, pointing a finger at him reproachfully. Tang San chuckled. "Who can blame me when you're so irresistible?" "I'm still not satisfied." Mei Gongzi's playful mood suddenly vanished, and her gaze grew dark as she softly said, "You have to succeed. You have to, you hear me?" Feeling the deep emotion in her eyes, Tang San knew exactly what she meant. In truth, She had been continuously worrying about whether he could successfully cross the tribulation. She never said it, and she kept herself busy at all times, not because she didn't want to see him but because she didn't want to add to the pressure. She was deeply concerned. Yes, I will. Tang San nodded seriously. Mei Gongzi was back in his arms in a flash of silver light. Tang San suddenly felt a warm sensation on his lips. Though it was only a brief touch, it felt as though his very soul had been struck by tribulation lightning. Mei Gongzi lowered her face, burying it into his chest. If you come back alive, I'll be your girlfriend, the official kind. Tang San's lips curled into a smile. The kind where I can kiss you? 1. This refers to Oscar aka Sausage Monopoly, one of the first 7 monsters of Shrek and the first food system soul master to be somewhat useful in a fight. 2. This refers to Rong Nianbing, the protagonist of Magic Chef of Ice and Fire, a related but different work by TJSS. He appears in Soul Land 2 as well. From Tang San's point of view, the only part of her skin he could see was her ear, and her earlobe had turned bright red. Don't worry, my love. For you I will definitely succeed. Nothing can stop me from succeeding. Trust me. I can never bear the pain of losing you again. If you're waiting for me at the end of the road, then I will walk that road no matter how harsh it is. Tang San's voice was firm and resolute, full of determination. The girl in his arms seemed to gradually relax as she listened to his voice. Tang San held her tighter, and the two of them nestled together. Moments later, her breathing became even. It felt as though she had melted into him. Kali City, the City Lord's mansion. Today, the atmosphere in the City Lord's mansion was noticeably heavy. The strong members of the Peacock Demon clan had arrived early. It had been 8 months since the change of the throne. Over this period, Kali City hadn't changed much, except perhaps for the decrease in the human population. Mei Gongzi's rule largely followed the policies set by the Peacock Great Demon King, with few changes. In fact, the Queen Consort often managed the city's affairs. The strong support from the Etherhorn Deer and Golden Deer clans kept Kali City's commerce thriving, with trade caravans spreading across the continent. In particular, in the past 6 months, Kali City had seen an influx of specialties from the endless blue sea. These specialties were naturally obtained through communication with the sea clans, who in turn received resources they needed from Kali City, creating a mutually beneficial relationship. With the endless blue sea as its backdrop and a friendship established with the sea clans, business powerhouses like the Etherhorn Deer Demon King and Golden Deer Demon King could foresee a prosperous future for Kali City. Without a doubt, Kali City was on its way to becoming way more than the remote, minor city at the bottom of the Empyrean Dominion rankings it had been when the Peacock Great Demon King took over. The human settlement established not far from Kali City had stopped expanding a while back, and even though it was being improved continuously, the population stayed more or less the same. Mei Gongzi hadn't issued any new laws or policies concerning humans either, and this resulted in the previously worried demon nobility calming down. In the past few months, Mei Gongzi's governance had been steady and methodical, with no major upheavals and practically no mistakes. The nobles had taken notice and were quite reassured. At the very least, she was not a brash ruler who would act recklessly. In any case, what they anticipated most from Mei Gongzi was not her administrative capabilities, but the exceptional cultivation talent she had displayed. The bearing of an emperor. This was something the Peacock Demon clan hadn't seen in many years. As the double champion of the Ancestral Court's elite competition, Mei Gongzi was unmatched in this regard among the younger generation, not just here but across the continent. If she could become an emperor in the future and protect Kali City, then the city would truly welcome a grand opportunity for development. However, the greatest test for this new city lord was about to arrive. The news that the Ancestral Court had ordered Mei Gongzi to report early had already reached the upper echelons of Kali City. They were helpless in this regard, so all they could do was pray. But could she successfully pass the evaluation? No one could say for sure. The Ancestral Court situation was complex, and to the nobles of the remote Kali City, it was an enigma. The more well-connected nobles had heard rumors, and these rumors weren't particularly favorable for Mei Gongzi. The Peacock Demon clan lacked an emperor, and Mei Gongzi's human bloodline was a glaring flaw. Hadn't the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor once coveted this city? Now the greatest test was approaching. Could Mei Gongzi's slender shoulders bear such a burden? The Demon Kings and Great Demon Kings of the Peacock Demon clan had gathered at the City Lord's mansion, along with the chiefs of various other clans. They had come to bid Mei Gongzi farewell. The Queen Consort was dressed in her finest attire today, her expression tinged with complexity. After 8 months of living together, though she hadn't interacted with Mei Gongzi much, the Queen Consort had begun to truly understand this girl. What tugged at her heartstrings was still what the Peacock Great Demon King had once said. Mei Gongzi indeed carried her bloodline. It wasn't until the day of the Peacock Great Demon King's death that she truly understood how much her husband loved her. He hadn't broken his promise. Everything he had done was for the prosperity and growth of the Peacock Demon clan. Even in his final moments, he had been calculating for the future of the Peacock Demon clan. After the death of the Peacock Great Demon King, the Queen Consort's emotions also collapsed. It took her quite some time to barely stabilize her feelings. She still clearly remembered that during her darkest time, Mei Gongzi found her and said something to her. Just one sentence brought her back from the depths of despair. Father gave everything to protect the Peacock Demon clan. You need to stay strong, mother. The word mother jolted the Queen Consort, or rather the Queen Dowager, since her husband had died, from her despair. Although Mei Gongzi wasn't her biological child, she did indeed carry her bloodline, the noblest bloodline of the entire Peacock Demon clan. And her words carried even more weight since Kali City's ruling couple had no daughters, only sons. It was Su Qin who had told Mei Gongzi to call the Queen Dowager mother. Although Mei Gongzi didn't understand why, she followed her mother's advice. From that day onward, she noticed that the Queen Dowager, who had always been rather cold toward her, was actively supporting her. The Grand Elder of the Peacock Demon clan was truly on her side. Over the past months, the Queen Dowager had actually ruled longer than Mei Gongzi, as Mei Gongzi spent much of her time cultivating. The Queen Dowager had nothing against it. She could clearly see Mei Gongzi's progress. Mei Gongzi's rate of improvement in cultivation was simply ridiculous, even for someone as talented and powerful as the Queen Dowager herself, who was one of the most powerful great demon kings around. She had never seen anyone in the Peacock Demon clan advance as quickly as Mei Gongzi, especially in her understanding of space. Even the Queen Dowager felt a sense of inferiority. She was fully convinced that, given enough time, Mei Gongzi would become an emperor, restoring the Peacock Demon clan to its former glory. As a result, their relationship had become rather harmonious, especially in the last half a year. However, the pressure from the ancestral court had only increased. With the evaluation looming, whether Mei Gongzi could pass the ancestral court's evaluation, gain its acknowledgement, and become the legitimate lord of Kali City would determine her future. As the city lord, she had to go. But how would the ancestral court treat her? If she wasn't allowed to inherit the position of city lord, how would the ancestral court handle someone with her level of talent? These questions remained uncertain, and today was the day Mei Gongzi would set out to find out the answer. The upper echelons of Kali City stood solemnly on either side, while the Queen Dowager, dressed in her finest attire, sat in the position of honor beside the main seat. Your Majesty, please, the Queen Dowager said in a deep voice. All the high-ranking officials of Kali City present slightly bowed toward the city lord's throne. A silver light quietly shimmered, and Mei Gongzi's figure appeared silently on the throne, as if she had always been there. She first nodded in acknowledgement to the Queen Dowager before turning to face the high-ranking officials of Kali City. May your Majesty be safe. Mei Gongzi's gaze swept over the high-ranking officials. Although she felt no particular affection for them, these nobles were undeniably the pillars of Kali City, and for all their faults, they were loyal to the Peacock Demon clan. Today, I will depart for the ancestral court to report my duties. During my absence, all matters of Kali City will be under the authority of the Grand Elder. I hope you will continue to work diligently for the development of Kali City, and obey the Grand Elder's leadership. Mei Gongzi turned to the Queen Dowager, the Grand Elder, and bowed slightly. I'll be counting on you, Mother. The Queen Dowager looked at her with a somewhat complex expression and said softly, It's my duty. I will safeguard your legacy. Return as soon as you can. Mei Gongzi smiled and nodded, then stood up. Let's go. 1. The Ross actually continued to call her Queen Consort, but this is incorrect since Wang Qing is dead and there is a new clan leader/city lord. Thus, we added the part between M-dashes in order to be able to use the correct term Queen Dowager, and not Queen Mother, since she is not Mei Gongzi's legal mother. Today, Mei Gongzi was still dressed in a silver gown. A flying carriage had already been prepared outside, just a notch below the level of an emperor's carriage, and pulled by 6 Pegasi rather than 8. The aura this carriage exuded was unmistakable, a clear signal to every single creature on the demon continent to steer clear. Accompanying her to the ancestral court for her report were only 20 personal guards from the Lion Tiger clan, along with her head guard, Tang San. No members of the Peacock Demon clan were brought along. Originally, the Queen Dowager had suggested she bring the great demon kings from the clan, but Mei Gongzi had told her that these individuals were the foundation of the Peacock Demon clan, so they could not leave the clan's ancestral home. Moreover, the evaluation of the ancestral court was not something that could be resolved by strength alone. Bringing great demon kings was futile. No matter how many there were, how could they compare to the demon emperors? Since they could not, then it was better not to bring them. Even if she failed the evaluation and something happened, the Peacock Demon Clan would still have the strength to recover. The Peacock Demon Clan's Council of Elders found that her reasoning was sound. Judging from all the information available, including the Ancestral Court's request for her to report early, it was clear that becoming the legitimate lord of Kali City wouldn't be easy. For the Peacock Demon Clan, preserving their strength was undoubtedly the best strategy. Mei Gongzi boarded the carriage while Tang San stood beside it, this time unmasked. "Let's go," Mei Gongzi said from within the carriage. Tang San nodded to the driver, then jumped onto the seat next to him. The Pegasi took to the sky, flapping their wings as they carried the carriage away. The Lion Tiger clan guards quickly boarded their own flying carriages and followed closely behind. The Queen Dowager, along with the high-ranking officials of Kali City, saw them off, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken tension. The Queen Dowager pressed her lips together. Would Mei Gongzi return? Would she come back safely? Would the Ancestral Court allow the Peacock Demon Clan to produce another emperor? No one could answer these questions. Wang Qing, you schemed and arranged everything before, but did you also pave the way for her evaluation? Whether she succeeds will determine the fate of the entire Peacock Demon Clan. Even if Mei Gongzi failed, the Queen Dowager could still go to the Ancestral Court as the Grand Elder to undergo evaluation herself. However, the chances of success were even slimmer. The Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor might back down for his own daughter's sake, but the Queen Dowager was not his daughter. If Mei Gongzi was there, that was one thing, but the Peacock Demon Clan and the Crystal Phoenix Clan were longtime enemies. Why would he help them? The Queen Dowager could now only think of a handful of potential allies who might stand with the Peacock Demon Clan, and none of them had the power to sway the Ancestral Court's decision. The flying carriage soared through the air, emitting a soft glow that shielded it from strong winds, allowing for a smooth ride. "Come in," Mei Gongzi called. Tang San, who was still seated on the driver's seat, smiled slightly and turned to enter the carriage. The interior of the carriage was spacious, roughly equivalent to a small apartment with a living room and a bedroom. Gazing at the calm-eyed Mei Gongzi, Tang San bowed slightly and said, "City Lord, what are your orders?" Mei Gongzi rolled her eyes at him. "I am your big sister. Have you forgotten already?" "All right, big sister Mei," Tang San replied as he sat down across from her. Their eyes met, and an unspoken warmth naturally spread between them. They both knew that the challenges ahead would be incredibly difficult, and that only the two of them could truly face it all. Yet in this moment they felt no fear. Instead, a sense of ease seemed to settle over them. Leaning back against the cushions, Mei Gongzi softly asked, "Tang San, have you thought about what we'll do when we return if we succeed in our report?" Tang San chuckled. "Are you serious? There will be plenty to do. A lot, in fact. You'll need to become an emperor as soon as possible, and I'll need to work hard to improve my cultivation. I plan to develop at least 2 paths suitable for human cultivation, starting with the overseas clans. We need to give humans their own cultivation abilities, to lay a foundation for them." "What paths?" Mei Gongzi asked curiously. Tang San shook his head. "It's hard to say right now. It'll depend on the insights I gain after crossing the tribulation, but I already have a general direction in mind. Speaking of that, I saw some things during my own tribulation. You said we have a fated connection from past lives. Does that mean when I become an emperor, I'll be able to recover my past life memories?" Tang San looked deeply at her and said, "That depends on whether you want to recover them." Mei Gongzi nodded. "I do want to because I want to know how we were together in our past lives. Those must be beautiful memories. There's actually something I've wanted to tell you these past few days." Tang San smiled and asked, "What is it?" Mei Gongzi lifted her head and looked at him with a deep gaze. "Thank you for coming to find me." Tang San's whole body trembled, and emotions welled up inside him, nearly overwhelming him. His vision blurred and his lips quivered slightly. "You? Why do you say that now?" Mei Gongzi moved closer to him, leaning into his embrace. "Because I want you to have more attachment to me in your heart, so that when you face your tribulation, you'll be stronger and braver. If you die, I probably won't survive either. Then we'll never get back to that world you told me about." Tang San held her tightly, but he couldn't find the words to respond. Did he have absolute confidence in crossing the tribulation? In truth, there was no 100% guarantee of success. Uncertainty always lingered. But at this moment, as he held her trembling body close, his determination to succeed was 150%. He would succeed because he had to succeed. There was no other way. They stood like that, quietly embracing each other for a long time. Let's go over the plan again. We should run through it one more time to make sure everything is in place. Tang San nodded. Okay. The two of them meticulously reviewed and recalculated every step of their plan inside the carriage. The city lord's carriage sped toward the ancestral court. At this pace they would arrive in just 3 days. This was the smoothest and quickest route under normal circumstances. After about a day and a half, the city lord's carriage arrived at Black Dragon City. It was here that one member of Kali City's envoy quietly disappeared. Watching the carriage disappear into the distance, Tang San took a deep breath, and his gaze grew even more resolute. In the hour before they parted, they had spent the entire time in each other's arms, so at this moment, her fragrance still lingered on him. Little May, don't worry. We'll both be fine. This will be our last adventure. Once this is over, there will be no more uncertainties. A faint silver light surrounded Tang San, and in the next moment, he disappeared without a trace. When he reappeared, Tang San was inside the barrier that concealed the relay array near Black Dragon City. The space-time beacon glowed brightly, activating the relay and initiating the teleportation. Surrounded by the light of the array, Tang San's figure vanished, disappearing in an instant. With a flash of light, he materialized amid the glowing array on the top floor of the White Tiger Hotel. Just minutes after parting with Mei Gongzi, he had already arrived at the ancestral court, a day and a half away by flying carriage. Feeling the familiar surroundings and the rich spiritual energy in the air, Tang San's lips curled into a smile. According to the plan, after he and Mei Gongzi parted ways at Black Dragon City, he was to arrive at the ancestral court ahead of time to make some arrangements. A city lord candidate's evaluation had 3 major components, and one had to perform well in all of them. Obviously no one was perfect, but none of these aspects could be lacking. The first was strength. To be the city lord of a major city, one's strength had to be convincing enough. Mei Gongzi would need to rely on her own power to pass this assessment. The second was the approval of the emperors. She would need to secure the approval of more than half of the emperors of the Empyrean Dominion to pass this stage. The third and final step was the recognition of the ancestral court. She would undergo a baptism of the ancestral court's will, and if she endured it, then she would gain the ancestral court's blessing. The emperors presiding over this last trial weren't just the current emperors, but also those who had passed away. Every demon and nymph emperor that inhabited a sacred mountain. Every demon and nymph emperor that had left behind their will within a throne atop a peak of the ancestral mountains. Once she went through this baptism, she would have succeeded in her evaluation and officially become the Lord of Kali City. Each of these 3 trials was challenging. The first test, the strength assessment, was naturally created with emperors in mind. As for those who were not emperors just yet, they had to prove that they were capable of contending with those an entire level above them. In other words, they had to show to the world that they had the makings of not just an emperor, but a top-tier one. This meant that Mei Gongzi might well have to face a great demon king with a first-tier bloodline. The exact test was not disclosed until the very last moment. The manner in which the test was conducted and the grading were only revealed to the candidate before the test. The next step was to gain the approval of more than half of the emperors on the side that owned the city. Based on her performance in the first test, the emperors would decide whether to approve or disapprove of her. There were currently 9 demon emperors in the Empyrean Dominion, so Mei Gongzi needed the approval of at least 5 of them to proceed to the next test, the baptism of the ancestral court's will. This baptism was overseen by none other than the true authority of the ancestral court, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. Mei Gongzi had always believed that the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor would be inclined to support her. It wasn't until she heard Tang San's explanation that she realized the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor was actually her greatest challenge. No one knew what this baptism actually entailed, but one thing was certain. If the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor didn't want her to pass, or if he decided to take action against her during the baptism, there would be no stopping him. Thus, theoretically, it seemed impossible for her to succeed in these 3 trials. This was why the atmosphere was so heavy when Mei Gongzi left Kali City. But in response to these 3 trials, Tang San had long since devised a series of plans, and they had been refining and rehearsing these plans for over half a year. Donning a hood and mask, Tang San left the White Tiger Hotel, hired a carriage and gave the driver a destination. The carriage traveled smoothly, and Tang San faced no impediment. Upon arriving at the ancestral court, he had immediately activated his discerning eye of heaven to fully cloak his presence. His current blood and energy fluctuations could not be measured by the standard of ordinary demons and nymphs. If a powerful being observed him up close with their divine sense, they would perceive him as a furnace, or perhaps as a volcano on the verge of eruption. Tang San's cultivation had long since reached the peak of the 9th order, the pinnacle of the pinnacle. Any slight misstep could lead to an explosive outburst. He had been on the verge of facing his tribulation for months now. Yet his purpose in arriving at the ancestral court ahead of time was to push his power even further beyond. Tang San now several bloodline imprints, including the discerning eye of heaven, which had reached the ninth order but not yet its peak. His other bloodline imprints were all at the very pinnacle of the ninth order: the golden armor transformation, lion tiger transformation, peacock transformation, dragon rock transformation, chronocroc transformation, blue adamant emperor, and the still mysterious crystalline. He wasn't here just because Mei Gongzi was coming to report to the ancestral court. No, Tang San was also here to undergo his tribulation. He intended to use this opportunity to advance. He had fulfilled his goals until now to the best of his abilities, and he aimed to elevate all his bloodline powers to the peak of the ninth order during his tribulation. There was only one thing left to do: gathering 9 bloodline imprints. After all, there was an empty slot left in his dantian. Therefore, his first task upon arriving was to visit 4 sacred mountains and complete the preparations he had previously been too cautious to do. The reason for his caution was that once everything was done, he would have to undergo his tribulation within a few days. It would be impossible for him to suppress it any longer. That was why he had waited until now. Thus, he needed to ascend all 4 sacred mountains and complete his tasks within a single day. The first target Tang San chose was the Sunborn Sacred Mountain, home to the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, the most powerful being of the Solstice Empire. The carriage stopped and Tang San paid the driver, instructing him to wait at the foot of the Sunborn Sacred Mountain. Adjusting his hood, he walked directly to the staircase of the Sunborn Sacred Mountain, paid the fee, and entered the familiar place. He had visited the Sunborn Sacred Mountain many times before, each time stopping after only a short climb to absorb some of the pure yang energy. But after merging with the Adamant Nymph bloodline, his Blue-Silver Emperor had fully entered the ranks of first-tier bloodlines. Even though it was surrounded by yin-yang energy, the new and resilient Blue Adamant Emperor was no longer affected by it. As he raised his head to gaze at the Sunborn Sacred Mountain, Tang San's eyes were calm yet resolute. Without much hesitation, he immediately began his ascent. As soon as he stepped into the range of the Sunborn Sacred Mountain, the familiar pure yang energy swept over him, and he instantly felt the intense heat. However, Tang San's physical body was now far too strong. Even with the suppression and concealment provided by his discerning eye of heaven, this level of pure yang energy had little effect on him. His pace as he climbed the mountain was not fast, but it was very steady. With each step upward, the pure yang energy intensified. Tang San naturally absorbed this pure yang energy, but instead of merging it into the yin-yang energy of his Blue Adamant Emperor, he forcibly wrapped it with his spiritual power. This was undoubtedly a wasteful approach, as his spiritual power was continuously consumed under the assault of the pure yang energy. But Tang San persisted, because this was the only way to prevent the increase in his energy from prematurely triggering his tribulation. The air around Tang San seemed somewhat distorted, creating an unusual atmosphere. At this moment, others were also climbing the Sunborn Sacred Mountain, most of them fire attribute demons and nymphs. The Sunborn Sacred Mountain was widely recognized as one of the most challenging sacred mountains to climb. When the demon and nymph powerhouses currently ascending saw Tang San, they couldn't help but show expressions of surprise. None of them had ever seen someone able to climb continuously without stopping. Although Tang San's pace wasn't fast, he never paused during the entire climb. He steadily reached over a third of the way up the Sunborn Sacred Mountain. By this point, the already intense yang energy had grown far more intense. A golden-red aura had formed around Tang San, burning his skin. This terrifying energy was potent enough to scorch even the soul. But Tang San's body, protected by his golden armor transformation and lion tiger transformation, was incredibly resilient. Moreover, the adamant nymph's power within his Blue Adamant Emperor further strengthened him. He quietly absorbed the pure yang energy, compressing it within, with no intention of stopping. After climbing past a third of the way up, there were no more climbers ahead of him. Indeed, very few could ascend beyond this point, which was why so few had earned the Sunborn Sacred Mountain's recognition. The power of the Sunborn Sacred Mountain was grand and domineering. However, for those with fire attribute bloodlines, undertaking the baptism of this mountain was one of the best ways to cultivate, as the mountain provided the purest yang flames. Many geniuses of the Scorching Sunflower clan hoped that during their climb of the Sunborn Sacred Mountain, their bloodlines would undergo mutation, allowing them to evolve and attain a talent akin to the Sunborn Nymph Emperors. However, things rarely went as desired. So far, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor was unique. Tang San continued his silent ascent, but when he reached the halfway point of the stairs, everything ahead of him suddenly turned entirely red, to the point where even the steps were no longer visible. The hazy red mist wasn't just blisteringly hot, it was like a deep abyss stretching before him. The red mist thickened, and a figure slowly emerged from within it. The figure was actually formed from the red mist, and as soon as it fully materialized, Tang San saw numerous brilliant, shining points of light appear around it. Tang San narrowed his eyes slightly as the lion-tiger transformation erupted, and the platinum-white lion-tiger golden force instantly spread across his body. In the next moment, beams of golden-red light shot out from the red figure. Dozens of beams, each one equivalent to a full-strength attack from a peak 9th order scorching sunflower, covered all of Tang San's possible escape routes in an instant. But Tang San had no intention of dodging. Instead, his eyes gleamed brightly as he traced circles with his hands in front of him, the lion-tiger golden force forming a white vortex to forcibly block the onslaught of golden-red beams. This was pure yang energy, scorching and domineering. If the terrifying fire toxin it contained invaded his body, the destruction it would cause would be utterly devastating. But Tang San maintained control. Within the circles drawn by his hands, the golden-red beams shattered one by one, transforming into golden-red halos that, under his guidance, merged into his body. This was the purest form of yang energy. The assault of the golden-red beams lasted for over 10 seconds before gradually subsiding. By then, the surface of Tang San's lion-tiger golden force had been covered with a layer of golden-red light. With the attack over, the red figure quietly dissipated. This was undoubtedly the most challenging of the sacred mountains Tang San had ever climbed. Such a trial would be nearly impossible for an ordinary demon or nymph to withstand even if they were at the 10th order. Only a fire attribute powerhouse with a first-tier bloodline could have a chance of resisting it below the god level. Yet Tang San had absorbed all of this energy into his body, condensing it into a golden-red orb within him. Only through the forceful control of his spiritual power was he able to suppress it, preventing an immediate explosion. What was that red figure? He had a good idea now. After standing in place and observing things for a moment, Tang San decided not to continue climbing. Instead, he turned around and began descending the mountain. A deep voice echoed at that moment. "You've already passed. Why not continue?" Tang San turned around and slightly bowed toward the Sunborn Sacred Mountain. "I'm still lacking. I am not confident in passing the next test. I'll go back, improve myself further, and then return once more." After saying this, he bowed once more and then quickly made his way down the mountain. A large golden-red flower swayed gracefully, and a deep voice muttered, "A strange feeling. Was that a devouring force? Not fire attribute. It seems like fate was obscured. Is this another one of that old fox's tricks? But if it was, why didn't he continue? Strange. Tang San quickly descended the mountain, suppressing the residual pure yang energy in his body, then slipped into the carriage, instructing the driver to head to the next target. What was that red figure that had attacked him? It was likely a 9th order projection of the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. This sacred mountain wasn't designed to generate wealth, but to genuinely enhance the abilities of the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's people. It was also meant to find his future successor among the young nymphs with exceptional talent. That was why the trials were so difficult. What Tang San absorbed was the energy of a peak 9th order projection of the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. This energy was derived from the Emperor's bloodline, and Tang San couldn't be happier. Where else could he find such high-quality bloodline energy? Thanks to him using the 9th order discerning eye of heaven to conceal himself, even the Sunborn Nymph Emperor couldn't fully discern Tang San's state, since he was nothing more than a projection. With his goal achieved, why stay any longer? That was why Tang San had left immediately. He didn't dare continue climbing. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor gave him a feeling akin to a dormant volcano. The divine consciousness of an emperor was formidable, and although Tang San's own divine consciousness had improved, he wasn't sure whether he could fully conceal himself from an emperor. The next destination, Earthshade's Sacred Mountain. With the experience from the Sunborn Sacred Mountain, Tang San speculated that the situation at Earthshade's Sacred Mountain would likely be similar. And after Earthshade, he had 2 more sacred mountains to visit. The last one would mark the end of his preparations. "City Lord, we are about to enter the Ancestral Court's domain. We will descend to the ground to continue forward." "All right," Mei Gongzi responded from within the carriage. Finally, she had arrived, and her trial was about to begin. She couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. After all, how could she not be? This time, on the surface at least, her report to the Ancestral Court was a battle she had to fight alone. Even he wasn't by her side. Though she knew full well that his absence was in her best interest, she still felt uneasy. After all, she was still young, and this was the first time she had faced a situation. The last time she had come to the ancestral court, she had been the center of attention, but she was facing peers from the young generation at the time. This time, however, she would be under the scrutiny of the emperors themselves. By the time Mei Gongxi's carriage descended to the ground, a welcoming party had already arrived to greet her. The welcoming party consisted of the ancestral court's guards, yet there were no high-ranking officials, not even a single demon king. Mei Gongxi didn't step out of the carriage. She simply ordered the driver to proceed into the ancestral court. Is this an attempt to intimidate me? Humph. Mei Gongxi's gaze turned calm, and her nervousness gradually faded. She was the type of person who became more composed when facing challenges and difficulties. The ancestral court's attitude only kindled a fighting spirit within her. Led by the ancestral court's guards, the flying carriage proceeded into the city. Since flying wasn't allowed inside the city walls, their pace was slow. Mei Gongxi lifted the curtain and looked at the place she was officially visiting for the second time, now feeling somewhat familiar with it. She pressed the communicator, a smaller model attached to her ear, and initiated a call. The call quickly connected, and she could immediately feel herself relaxing. A familiar voice came from the other side. Yes, Mei Gongxi replied softly. How are things on your end? Everything is going according to plan. So far so good. That's good. Once I reach the ancestral court's elder council, I might not be able to talk to you as often. Be careful, Mei Gongxi advised. Alright, don't worry. You be careful too. Tang San's voice was steady and gentle. Mei Gongxi was silent for a moment before she said, I miss you. Perhaps it was the pressure she was about to face, but at this moment, she truly wished he were by her side. Hearing his voice only intensified her longing for him, like a geyser bursting forth. Tang San could sense Mei Gongxi's emotional turmoil even through the communicator. I miss you too. Trust me, when I appear before you again, no matter who the opponent is, I will have the strength to protect you. As long as you're safe and sound, that's all that matters. Don't worry about me. Worst case, I won't be the city lord anymore, but at least my grandfather will make sure I'm safe. Before coming, they had already carefully analyzed all the issues they would face when reporting for duty and the possible situations that might arise. The first thing they considered, of course, was the worst possible outcome. For Mei Gongxi, the worst outcome would naturally be failing the report, which would result in her being stripped of her position as city lord and even being placed under arrest in the ancestral court. However, with the White Tiger Demon Emperor as Mei Gongxi's grandfather, the other emperors would more or less show some respect. After all, no one wanted to be enemies with the White Tiger Demon Emperor, even those ranked higher than him. And based on his previous attitude toward Mei Gongxi, it was certain that he would step in on her behalf when it mattered. Thus, Mei Gongxi's safety was actually well assured. The White Tiger Demon Emperor would have no trouble protecting her. This was also why Tang San felt at ease letting her come on her own.